Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Konoha finds out Naruto's heritage. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Y0SH and link in the description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. 11. December 1296 AS. 7 years old Naruto Uzumaki was grumbling to himself while rifling through the stuff in the storage room of the Hokage Tower. Really, why did his Jai-san have to punish him for a harmless little prank? Given it was the 7th this month and he got off the other times, he could admit to himself that he might have deserved it a little bit. However, clearing up the storage room was much too cruel, at least in Naruto's humble opinion. And anyway, what was he supposed to do all day? It was still over half a year until he could enroll at the Shinobi Academy. Naruto is an orphan, both his parents perished in the Kyuubi attack 7 years ago and for some reason people didn't like him. He didn't remember much about his first 6 years spent in one of Konoha's orphanages. After the incident on his 6th birthday, his Jai-san gave him an apartment and a stipend to live on. At first, he had been ecstatic. After all, the matron never really allowed him to go into the village. Reality caught up with him all too soon. Cleaning and cooking all on his own was not fun at all. Worse yet, the children at the various parks didn't play with him on the insistence of their parents, and the only adults that treated him nice, aside from a few shinobi, were the owner of a ramen stand and his daughter. The one bright spot was Koto-chan, who came by once in a while to spend some time with him and even brought along fresh groceries and her very own homemade cooking. All this led to his current predicament. Being a bored 7-year-old with too much energy, he started pranking people. His targets were mostly people who treated him badly, i.e. shop owners that overcharged him or were generally meanies. Naruto had tried to get into the library a few times, since reading was one of the few pastimes that didn't require friends. However, the librarian didn't like him either and had chased him out, hence his desire to prank him. It was only thanks to his Jai-san that he was even able to read and some anonymous benefactor that left behind books in his apartment. Back to Naruto, he was currently trying to rearrange a few scrolls containing old academy texts in a rack. Being only 3'11" tall, he used a small chair to reach the higher compartments of said rack. When he was almost finished with his task and tried to put the last scroll on the rack, he leant forwards and his right foot slipped from the edge of the chair. Stumbling right into the rack, he was lucky that it didn't topple over. However, as he grabbed onto the next best thing, that being the bottom of a compartment, the thin wood panel broke and Naruto fell to the ground in a heap. Having his unlucky day, a heavy wooden box that was being stored in the broken compartment came flying and hit him right on the head. Naruto rubbed the forming bump on his head, glaring at the according to him stupid box. His annoyance came to a halt when he saw the kanji for 4 in big yellow scripture on top of the box. Naruto's face changed to a big smile, this box must belong to Yondaime. He thought excitedly. Naruto had read all about Konoha's Hokage and his Jai-san had told him a few stories about them since he had known all of them. For Naruto, the 4th Hokage was quite the hero, having saved the village multiple times. Naruto picked up the heavy box but scratched his thumb open on a splitter of the slightly damaged box. He suckled on it to nurse the pain and then picked up the box again to put it back on the rack. As soon as his bloody thumb touched the box, the yellow letter started to glow and with a quiet click, the cover of the box lifted itself a little. Naruto froze for a moment but then his curiosity got the better of him. Glancing around the storage room, he reassured himself that he was still alone and lifted the cover off completely. The first thing he noticed was a 3-pronged kunai with weird markings on the hilt. Naruto picked up the kunai and marveled at the weapon once wielded by a Hokage. Seeing multiple scrolls, he picked up the first and unrolled it. Birth certificate. Birth in the village hidden in the leaves, Konohagakure no Sato, registered by Sandaime Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi. Child. Date of birth. 10. October 1289. Name. Naruto Namikaze. Sex. Male. Parents. Father. Name and surname. Minato Namikaze. Profession or occupation. Yondaime Hokage. Age. 21. Birthplace. Konohagakure no Sato. Mother. Name and surname. Kushina Uzumaki. Profession or occupation. Elite Jonin. Age. 21. Birthplace. Uzushiogakure no Sato. Witness. Name and surname. Kakashi Haddock. Profession or occupation. Shinobi of Konohagakure no Sato. Naruto stared wide-eyed at the document in his hands, Uzumaki Kushina. He asked himself. His eyes darted around the room, making certain that he was still alone. He threw the scroll back into the box, placed the lid on it, picked it up and rushed out of the Hokage Tower towards his apartment. Back in his apartment, Naruto sat on his bed, the box on his lap, but unable to open it again. Looking at it with a confused expression, he noticed the tiny red smear on the lid and remembered his injury. Unfortunately, his thumb had already healed, so he bit down on it until the skin broke and smeared a little blood over the box again. This time, the lid came off without resistance. He grabbed the birth certificate again and just stared at it. He couldn't believe what he was reading. Why had nobody told him about his parents? His Jai-san had to know this, his signature and the Hokage's stamp was on the document. Shoving his questions back for later, he grabbed the next scroll and opened it. Naruto. I don't know where to begin, to be honest. When you read this, it means that Hiruzen has told you about your lineage. My original was just stabbed through the chest while sealing the Kyuubi and created me a shadow clone to write this letter for you. However, since my original is probably dead by now and my chakra is very limited, I'll act as original for the time being. My name is Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage. I don't know what Hiruzen told you about the night the Kyuubi attacked, so I'll write a little about that in order for you to understand my actions. Your mother was the second Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi and the most beautiful woman I have ever known. Unfortunately, we were attacked by a masked man with a Sharingan the night you were born, a man who wanted to set the Kyuubi free. Long story short, we were taken by surprise and the Kyuubi was ripped from your mother. A Jinchuriki can't survive the extraction of its prisoner, and even the fabled Uzumaki longevity wouldn't have been able to save your mother. I am uncertain whether Hiruzen has told you about your burden or not. Therefore, I'll give you some information first. You must understand that Bijk, such as the Kyuubi no Imko, can't die. They're giant masses of chakra, given conscience. The first Hokage Hashirama Senju subdued the Kyuubi during his fight with Madara Uchiha and with the help of his wife Mito Uzumaki, sealed it away. Mito was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi before your mother. The weaker Bijk can be sealed in objects for a few years before they break out, the stronger however, need human jailers. Due to political reasons, Hashirama captured the other 8 Bijk and gifted them to the various villages as a sign of goodwill and peace. It obviously didn't work that well. Bijk are traditionally sealed in babies or young children, although it is not necessary, as the example of Mito shows. When the Kyuubi broke loose and rampaged through Konoha, we had to reseal him. As the Hokage, I couldn't ask someone else to sacrifice their baby if I myself wasn't able to do so. There are only so many people I would ever trust to hold the power of a Bijk, and I can say without doubt that you're one of them. The seal I used, however, is special. Unlike other Jinchuriki who have like an on-off switch to their Bijk's chakra, your seal allows a constant trickle of the Kyuubi's chakra into your body. It is one of the most advanced seals ever created, if I may say so myself. The man that attacked us wanted to destroy Konoha, and I was only able to rebuff him, so I knew that one day the village would need the Kyuubi's power to survive, and that is another reason why we chose you. Your mother and I trusted you with this burden because we believe that one day you will be able to control the Kyuubi and protect the village we loved. There's no one we would trust more than you, for you are our son, Naruto, and we love you more than anything in the world. Never forget that you are the Kyuubi's jailer and not the demon himself. I told Hiruzen that you should be viewed as a hero for what you have sacrificed. I am rambling by now, I guess my chakra is running low, so I'll try to finish this. Due to the special seal, your body should become more acclimated to the Kyuubi's chakra. Your mother had always trouble using it since it hurt her body. It will also give you bigger chakra reserves. It is a shame that I won't be able to teach you anything, Sachi. However, one piece of advice. You need to do many chakra control exercises to use your chakra efficiently. It's embarrassing that my only words to my son are about history and technicalities, but I'm certain that your mother will have all the mushy stuff covered. I will seal this letter and your mother's in a box together with some other things. The documents to our bank accounts and our home should be in there. Our home has similar protections to this box, so only you will be able to access it. The house is very secluded since I needed a lot of space to work on new jutsu and train with my summons. When your heritage is revealed, you could also live in the Senju compound. Tsunade has left the village a few years ago and isn't even aware of Kushina's pregnancy since we weren't able to contact her. I can feel my last chakra leaving this body. I want you to know that, whatever you do, your mother and I will be proud of you. Train hard, son, I know that you will become great one day. I hope that Hiruzen, Jiraiya and Kakashi took good care of you. With all my love. Minato Namikaze. Yondaime Hokage. Naruto's hands trembled while tears streamed down his face. He didn't understand everything his father, or rather his father's clone, had written. Apparently, he had the Kyuubi sealed inside of him, however that worked, and it was the reason the villagers resented him. Naruto wasn't sure what to feel about this, so he rummaged around in the box, looking for the letter his mother had written. Sachi. First, I love you so much. I loved you from the moment I found out that I was pregnant. I'm so sorry that your father and I won't be there for you growing up. I'm sure your father rambled on about the amazing seal he used for the Kyuubi and how you're going to be a great shinobi. However, know that whether you become a shinobi or not, we will be proud of you. There are a few things that I need to tell you. As you might know, I was born in Yuzashiogakur, the village hidden by whirling tides. Yuzashio is rather special in the sense that its population was made up almost completely by the Uzumaki clan. It is my hope that you can bring our clan back to greatness. You see, a few years after I left Yuzashio to live in Konoha, Yuzashio was attacked and our clan almost completely wiped out. In my lifetime, I tried to find survivors but was without luck. The Uzumaki were a proud clan and famous for their skill in Kenjutsu and Fukinjutsu. We were closely allied with Konoha due to the marriage between Hashirama and my grandmother Mito Uzumaki. So, if you decide to become a shinobi, you might want to look into those two ninja arts. There are many scrolls on the history and jutsu of the Uzumaki in our home, so if you are interested, it would be the best place to start. I'm sure that your father rambled about the night we both died. Is it weird to write about my original's impending death? However, you must be quite angry at us due to our actions and the fact that your inheritance and the knowledge about your parents was kept from you. Your father's clone informed Hiruzen about everything and asked him to keep you safe and your lineage hidden until you are ready to defend yourself. Both me and your father made many enemies in our life. I in particular would love nothing more than to remove the name Namikaze from this world. For all this, I want to apologize and hope that you can forgive us. I feel my end coming, so here's some last advice. Naruto, don't be picky, eat lots and grow strong. Make sure that you bathe every day and stay warm. Also, don't stay up late, you need lots of sleep. And make friends. You don't need a lot of friends, just a few. Ones you can really trust. I wasn't very good at it, but keep up with your studies and practice your ninjutsu hard. Remember that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, so don't get too depressed if you can't do something well. Respect your teachers and upperclassmen at the academy. Oh, and this is important, it's about the 3 prohibitions for a shinobi. Be extra careful about lending and borrowing money. Put your mission wages into your savings account. No alcohol until you're 20. Too much can ruin your health, so drink in moderation. Another prohibition is women. I'm a woman, so I don't know too much about this, but all you need to remember is that this world is made up of men and women, so it's only natural to take an interest in girls. But just don't get hooked on bad women. Find someone just like me. Speaking of the 3 prohibitions, be wary of Jiraiya. You know Naruto, from now on, you're going to face lots of pain and hardship. Be true to yourself. Have a dream and have the confidence to make that dream come true. There's so much, oh, so much more that I want to pass on to you. I wish I could stay with you longer. I love you. Kushina Namikaze. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato sat in his office gazing into his crystal ball with a frown on his face. He could only hope that he did the right thing by leading Naruto to his inheritance. This last year he had been forced to watch a young boy turn from an inquisitive, curious and exceedingly bright child into a parody of itself. All due to the behavior of the very people he had served for close to 5 decades, not to mention the boy's own service, although unknown to him until now. Hiruzen could tell himself all day that his actions were for the good of Naruto, but at the end of the day he was the Hokage, and he could not allow an asset like Naruto wither away. If certain people got wind of what he did, he might get into trouble. Not that anyone could touch him, but it would be quite annoying having to explain himself. He decided to keep an eye on Naruto, at least for next few days, and make sure that he didn't shout S-class secrets from the Hokage monument. 12. December 1296. Naruto woke with a start. He had cried himself to sleep the previous night, clutching his parents' letters to his chest. Naruto wasn't sure what he should feel. On one hand his parents were the reason that villagers didn't like him and he couldn't make friends. Due to said treatment however, Naruto grew up faster than usual and understood that what his father did was necessary. There were only 2 things he was certain of at the moment. 1, he was going to find the masked man and make him pay. 2, he wanted to visit his parents' house, the home he should have grown up in. After a delicious cup of instant ramen, he made his way to the Hokage monument. According to the scroll his parents left him, their house was located near a small lake behind the monument. The first thing Naruto noticed after entering the house was the dust everywhere. Making his way through the different rooms, he explored what should have been his childhood home. Tears sprang to his eyes on multiple occasions, the first time he saw a photograph of both his father and mother, the room they had prepared for him, or how there were still dishes in the kitchen sink, as if someone would come back at any moment to wash them. The 2-story house had a kitchen, dining room, living room and a small bath on the first floor. On the second floor, there were 3 bedrooms, another bath and the library, connected to an office. After having explored the house for almost an hour, Naruto spent the rest of the morning in the library. The first thing he did was looking for the scrolls his mother had mentioned. He wanted to know more about his family, the only thing he ever craved for more than ramen. When lunchtime rolled around, Naruto ignored the rambling of his stomach and decided that he would have an extra large dinner instead. Having read about the Uzumakis for 3 hours already, he decided that he should check what else there was to find. 5 hours later Naruto was amazed by what he found. Apparently, his parents had put a lot of work into amassing knowledge. There were scrolls on every ninja art Naruto had ever heard about and then some. From history to science, even his father's old academy books and notes were stored away. The only thing missing were scrolls on actual jutsu. The whole collection was more about general chakra knowledge and jutsu theory. Over the past 5 hours Naruto also tried to think about what his parents wrote and made some decisions. First, he wouldn't tell his Jai-san that he knew about his parents. He wondered when the Sandaime would deem him worthy of that knowledge. Second, he would heed both his father's and mother's advice. When he had looked into his father's old academy books, he couldn't stop himself from reading a little, after all he would soon be learning this stuff anyway. Naruto had already read a book about chakra and together with his father's notes, it was much easier to understand. There were a few words that were still too big for him, luckily his Jiji had gifted him with some boring book that explained all the words that he had ever seen. Naruto promised himself to look into it back at his apartment, he would do everything he could to become as strong as his father, even if it meant reading about not so interesting stuff like geography. Thinking about his father, he thought about his dream of becoming Hokage. While it would be awesome for the whole village to acknowledge him, there was a lot of stuff involved that Naruto didn't like. His father had made some notes about his days in office and there was very little fighting going on, which was just boring. Why should he train to become the strongest only to sit behind a desk all day long? Naruto realized, in a rare moment of introspection, that what he really wanted from being Hokage was the respect and love that came along with it. Maybe he could ask his Jiji or Koto-chan how to do that without all the boring stuff. Besides, he had heard the Sandaime complain about his paperwork often and it didn't sound fun at all. Naruto also wanted to learn Fukinjutsu. On the one hand, it was interesting. Like, a few symbols holding a gigantic massive chakra at bay. How's that not awesome? On the other, it was what made the Uzumaki great and respected and his mother had told him to bring the Uzumaki clan back to greatness. His decisions made he picked up his father's old academy stuff and a beginner's book on Fukinjutsu. Coming back to this house every day would be suspicious. Just aside from the academy books he also found a book titled Ninja How To by T.S. That sounded exactly like something he could use. Quite happy with his discovery, he found himself a bag, put his books in it and left the house. 19. December 1296. 1 week later we find our favorite blonde storming into the Hokage's office, permission to do so notwithstanding. "Gigi, I need your help." The boy exclaimed loudly. Here is in Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage, hero of many battles and wars, Kami no Shinobi and many other titles, looked up from a small orange book and cursed. Just when he was taking a short break from the arduous paperwork, he had to be interrupted. When he noticed who it was interrupting him however, he started to smile. "Hello, Naruto-kun. Tell me, what can I help you with?" Naruto started to fidget under to Hokage's gaze, he hadn't planned what to say exactly to his Jai-san in order not to arouse suspicion. "Well, you see Jiji. I want to become a shinobi and I heard that shinobis need to eat healthy food and such, but I have a problem. The merchants only sell me bad things and it's like super expensive. Koto-chan usually brings by stuff, but according to this book I'm reading, I need to eat much more to build muscles. Koto-chan told me those masked guys running around the village are super awesome ninja and everyone respects them and then she said if I wanted to join them, I have to eat all the veggies and stuff to get real big and strong." The Sandaime's eyes darkened at those words and cursed mentally, those fucking civilians, if only they knew who exactly they're mistreating so badly. I have to thank Mikoto again for looking after the boy. One day I will proudly proclaim Naruto's lineage and enjoy how those worms fall over themselves in order to apologize for their treatment. Jiji. Are you mad at me?" Naruto asked shaking a little. Unknown to Hiruzen, he leaked a bit of his killing intent while indulging in his slightly morbid fantasies. Quickly gathering himself, he answered. "No, Naruto-kun, not at all. I'm very happy to hear about your decision to eat more healthy. While I agree that ramen is truly delicious, it doesn't help with your growth. How about you make a list of all the groceries you need for 1 week and leave it with me? I will make certain that it is delivered to your home and deduct the price from your stipend. If you want to make changes, just bring me a new list, alright?" Naruto's eyes lit up and he flung himself at the Hokage. "Thank you Jiji, that's awesome. One more thing. See, I wanted to prepare for the academy since I start in half a year. But I can't buy any shuriken or kunai. And when Koto-chan comes by she always makes scrolls go poof and stuff pops out. I never really cared cause you know how her food is awesome and distracts me, but yesterday I asked her and she told me it's called Kenjutsu, and I really want to learn that cause you know I could take awesome Koto-chan food on missions, so I need supplies for it, can you help me? Alright, I will help you Naruto, the Sandaime declared with a smile on his face. It's soon lunchtime. How about we go to Ichiraku's for some ramen and then we get you your supplies. However, I won't buy you fresh shuriken and kunai, they're too dangerous Naruto-kun. I'm sure some of my Anbu have leftovers that they don't need anymore, you can practice with them. Kenjutsu is indeed a very interesting branch of the ninja arts, if you need help with it, you can ask me. Now, before we go, please wait outside my office, I need to talk to someone quickly, alright. Hi Jiji. Naruto exclaimed loudly, jumping from Hiruzen's lap and dashing towards the door. Once the door was closed behind him, the Sandaime turned towards the dog mask Anbu hidden in one of the corners. Inu, you will be responsible for Naruto's groceries and the next time you come across Mikoto, please give her my thanks. Hi Hokage-sama, Inu replied. Very well. If you wish you may help Naruto-kun from time to time, his new interest in Anbu is cover enough. It'll be your job to buy his groceries and I'm certain you'll find some old kunai and shuriken in Anbu headquarters. When you're on missions, I think Itachi-kun has a sweet spot for Naruto, ask him to buy the groceries in your absence. Hi Hokage-sama. Ninja How-To, Introduction. I write these lines in my 35th year on this earth. It has been 12 years since the founding of Konoha no Sado, and with it, the union of multiple shinobi clans. Much has changed in those 12 years, with many nations following our example in creating unified hidden villages. And even though it shouldn't have, for many the meaning of what a shinobi is supposed to be changed as well. In order to train shinobi hopefuls from different clans, with different attitudes and different styles, the Konoha Ninja Academy was built. It is my belief that irrespectively of anyone's origins, the same foundation must be found in a competent ninja that go beyond technical abilities. The mind is as much a weapon as the body, and like any weapon can be turned against yourself, Genjutsu only being the most obvious example. In order for our great village to prosper, our shinobi in Kunoichi shall be prepared for the cost and shall learn what it means to be a soldier of Konoha. For barely a decade after our founding and the peace that it brought with it, our ninja are starting to become lax. The merging of knowledge led to great advancements in the creation of jutsu, particularly of elemental nature. It also brought with it arrogance and the very dangerous principle of the flashier, the better. In this book I shall write my thoughts on the true meaning of being a shinobi and how you become one. Chapter 1 Being a Ninja. Chapter 2 Mind and Body. Chapter 3 Chakra Introductions. Chapter 4 Taijutsu. Chapter 5 Bukijutsu. Chapter 6 Ninjutsu. Chapter 7 Jinjutsu. Chapter 8 Chakra Theory. Chapter 9 Elemental Jutsu. Chapter 10 Jutsu Theory. Chapter 2. 14. April 1297. The next 4 months were probably the best in Naruto's short life. New Year came and went and Naruto kept studying and reading the scrolls he got from his parents' library. He used his time for useful stuff and didn't waste whole days away being bored. Plus, he made many different foods. While ramen was still on top of the ranking, sometimes it was a little much and he came to enjoy having a decent breakfast. Whenever the weather allowed it, Naruto sat on a tree in one of the rather secluded training grounds working on something. He was breezing through the academy curriculum. Admittedly, he wasn't able to remember everything he read and learned, but he was simply not that interested in geography. History was somewhat interesting, at least reading about the previous Hokage and the Shinobi World Wars, and by now he knew that math was a big thing with Genjutsu, so he tried his best. To his consternation, Naruto realized quite early that Genjutsu was very time-consuming. Before he could even start working on seals, he had to better his own handwriting. The one positive thing he got out of it was that he definitely became more patient. While he could not work on seals himself, he was still able to read the theory, which was very interesting, although there were some bigger words he didn't quite grasp. Fortunately for him, he had his Jai sent for help and on some occasions even the nice dog mask Anbu, whom he had seen around a few times before and quickly dubbed Inunai. It was also quite interesting to see how everyday things for shinobi were actually quite complex in Genjutsu terms. For example, storage scrolls, while widely utilized, were quite complex. Creating a pocket dimension, one of the words his Jai-sen had helped him with, was not as simple as shinobi made it out to be and actually quite advanced for Genjutsu work. The book Ninja How-To was one of his most prized possessions. It explained almost everything that was relevant to the training of a shinobi, from workout to nutrition, the better-known ninja arts, and generally what it meant to be a ninja. While reading about weight training, Naruto also made the discovery that he should stay away from it, at least until his teenage years. Apparently, it was quite dangerous and could harm growth and bone structure if you went overboard with weights. Therefore, he only worked with his own body weight, meaning push-ups, sit-ups and the like. If he was honest with himself, he didn't really see the results of his training, but was determined to keep at it. The few things he had trouble with were his Bukijutsu and chakra control. Throwing shuriken and kunai without proper instruction was quite troublesome, he soon realized. Instead of asking the Sandaime for help, he decided to just wait until he started at the academy and use his time to learn the other stuff he would need. He didn't give up on his chakra control, however. Unlocking his chakra went without trouble, but afterwards, he seemed to be stuck. Being completely unable to keep a leaf anywhere on his body since it just blew away every time he tried it, he looked into other exercises. 1 month later, Naruto was running up and down the trees in his chosen training ground. He realized that his problem with chakra control was the exact opposite to other ninjas. Other ninjas worked from using the smallest amount up to higher amounts, since with exercises their chakra reserves also expanded. Naruto already had quite big reserves, so he had to start on a more chakra-consuming exercise and work his way down. Since learning tree walking, or more exactly sticking to a surface, Naruto tried the leaf exercise with different things. He started out with pebbles, since those should withstand more force than a leaf and not just blow away. To Naruto's delight, his self-invented exercise worked quite well. He was certain that within the next 2 months, he would be able to do the normal leaf exercise. It was in the middle of April when things started to get even better for Naruto. He was sitting on his usual branch on his usual tree in his usual training ground when he heard something land in front of him. Startled by the sudden sound, Naruto looked up from his scroll and the person in front of him, who seemed eerily familiar. He looked rather young, in his early teenage years maybe, with black hair and a ponytail and standard Anbu gear. "Hello Naruto-kun, what are you doing here?" Recognizing the monotone voice for one of the Anbus that protected him once, Naruto's face lit up. "Weasel-chan. Shouldn't you wear your mask?" "I'm currently off duty and as such, please call me Itachi," the now identified youth said, with a slight ticking mark forehead, being offended by the chan suffix. "Okay. Well, I'm learning to become a great ninja. Just wait, I'll have a cool mask soon enough." "So, you want to become an Anbu Naruto-kun? That's quite the ambition, if you need any help, feel free to ask me," Itachi said, in the same monotone voice. "Really? That would be so awesome. Can you show me how to throw kunai and shuriken, and can you show me some taijutsu? Oh, and you must know some super cool ninjutsu too, please," Naruto said, masterfully executing a puppy eyes no jutsu without the use of hand seals. Itachi's eyes widened slightly and he staggered back on the tree branch. "Okay, I'll help you, but only if you promise never to do that again," Itachi said, fear creeping into his voice. Naruto jumped up from his previous position, being on his knees with his hands together as if in prayer. He lost his footing however and dropped from the branch face planting into the forest floor. Sighing to himself, Itachi thought, he can use my help, Sasuke and Izumi have 2-san and Ka-san to help him, and anyway, I owe it to Kushina Aba-san for babysitting me. He jumped down from the tree, landing right in front of an unresponsive Naruto. "Alright, listen Naruto-kun. I will help you, however, in exchange you have to follow my orders without complaint." Naruto groaned audibly before lifting his head from the forest floor. "Okay Itachi Nai, let's start," was the rather unenthusiastic response. "Alright, first off, I won't teach you any ninjutsu or genjutsu until you start at the academy, and even then, only the standard academy jutsu. I will help you with recognizing and breaking enemy genjutsu though," Itachi said, ticking of his finger. "But Nai-san." Ignoring Naruto's outburst, he continued. "Second, I will teach you the academy taijutsu, since it's useful knowledge for every shinobi of the leaf. Although many clan members use their own taijutsu, there are many shinobi relying on the leaf's general style. Knowing the style means knowing how your future teammates will fight, means you will be anticipate their attacks and help accordingly. Third, I don't have much time due to my Anbu responsibilities. If I'm available, I'll meet you here. If you're not here, I won't go looking for you. Do we have an agreement?" Hi. "So, with what do we start?" "Joint training. Evasion and Bukijutsu." Itachi answered and threw a blunt kunai and Naruto, who dodged the offensive item in the nick of time with an indignant outcry, right before he blanched at the multitude of shuriken and kunai flying at him. 11. March 1297. "I understand that you enjoy your new assignment Itachi-kun. Hiruzen asked one of his top Anbu operators. Despite only being 12 years old, Itachi was on the verge of taking over captainship from Inu, also known as Kakashi Hatake. "Hi, Hokage-sama," was the dutiful response. "As I understand you have taken to train Naruto-kun in your free time this past month, what do you think of him?" "Well, with all due respect Hokage-sama, we might want to keep this between us." The Sandaime nodded and after a hand sign 3 of the 4 Anbu watching over the Hokage this afternoon vanished while the 4th knelt in front of the Hokage. "With your permission Hokage-sama." the dog mask-wearing individual said. Of course, Kakashi-kun, you may stay, Hiruzen answered the unasked question and activated the privacy seals in his office. Now Itachi-kun, your assessment. He's a weird blend of both his parents to be honest, the Sandaime straightened his back at those words, suddenly looking more like the fabled shinobi he is than the grandfatherly figure many saw in him. I was not aware that you knew of his lineage. My mother was very close with Kushina Abe-san and I was aware of her pregnancy. She said that not only my mother would give me a sibling. Itachi said with a sad smile, my mother makes it a point to visit him from time to time, even though she doesn't tell anyone else. Plus, he looks like a mini yondaime, loves ramen and pranks, and then there is his prisoner. A yondaime would never burden another family if he didn't choose his own first. As I said, he is a weird blend of his parents. While he can be irritably goofy when just walking around, he is also very focused on his studies. While he doesn't learn theory extremely easy, aside from Kenjutsu that is, he picks up the practical parts very well. His shuriken and kunai throwing improved greatly with very little instruction. Most importantly however, are his instincts. Even though he has little experience in the shinobi arts or fighting in general, he acts without hesitation and often knows instinctively which is the correct action to take. While he's not exceptional when it comes to learning techniques, his application of what he learns is better than anyone I have ever seen. That is very interesting. I expect great things from him. And he will achieve them. If he keeps studying like he does right now, I have no doubt that he won't need more than 2 years at the academy. Maybe even less. I see. In that case we're fortunate that Kakashi-kun will be available for a Jonin sensei position by the time Naruto-kun graduates. He will need an unbiased instructor to pass the Genin exam. 5. May 1298. Life for Naruto Uzumaki was quite good, if he might say so himself. Although he attended the academy only irregularly, he passed his exams quite easily. The only thing that confused him was that his exams, more often than not, seemed quite difficult for a first-year student and asked for knowledge that was only taught in the later part of his father's books and notes. His training with Itachi let him skip most Taijutsu and Bukijutsu classes. While not perfect, he was certain that it would be good enough to pass the graduation exam. Naruto knew that he would be able to take the exam early, which drove him even more to further his studies, since he got the distinct feeling that his senseis didn't like him much. Some of them even tried to sabotage him by worsening his Taijutsu stance, which gave him only more reason to skip the class altogether. It was rather difficult to assess his own abilities, but he knew that he was easily the best in his own class. While not necessarily stronger than his classmates, he was a lot faster, and his shuriken and kunai throwing was flawless on the shorter distance used for first years. Thanks to his improved nutrition, Naruto had shot up in height to be a little above average for his age, he stood at about 4'5". Unfortunately, that meant buying new clothes, which meant dealing with civilians. The only thing he was able to buy was a bright orange jumpsuit. While orange was his favorite color a little more than a year ago, that had changed when he first saw a picture of his mother. He thought that a red hair was super cool, and thus he had a new favorite color. All that aside, he figured that orange wasn't exactly something a shinobi should run around in, they were supposed to be stealthy after all, or so his favorite book said. All the more reason to become a shinobi as fast as possible, so he could shop in the shinobi-only stores that sold real shinobi gear, like the so-called Anbu-style pants. The only academy sensei he got along with was Iruka. Although the scar-faced Chunin was quite vexed with him when he missed classes, he was very fair and the only person to catch him regularly after a prank Anbu included. Due to his studies in Kenjutsu, his pranks changed quite a bit, and just now Naruto was on his way to the Hokage Tower for 2 reasons. First, he needed his Jai-sen's help for the graduation exam, and second, he wanted to experience his newest invention firsthand. This newest invention being a seal made to prank the Hokage. It had taken him hours to create the seals perfectly, since his handwriting still needed a lot of work. Out of the 10 level, by which Kenjutsu users were rated, Naruto was only about half through level 2. However, the ranking was somewhat useless after level 7. The reason for that is quite simple. Until level 6 there is a very strict guideline as to what the user should be able to do and which books are the best to study. After level 6, Kenjutsu branches off into subdivisions and there are only very few available scrolls or books for those. Since there are only very few ninja actually practicing Kenjutsu, there's no one with real authority to rate the Kenjutsu user correctly. The only reason the system was still in place is for non-combat use, such as weaponsmiths who use Kenjutsu to improve swords and such. Dashing past the secretary, Naruto opened the slide door to the Hokage's office but didn't enter immediately. He stood at the threshold looking into the office. The whole office was completely turned upside down, furniture actually having turned 180 degrees and resting on the ceiling the correct way. That was even better than planned. His seals should only reverse the gravity, he had no idea why the furniture turned themselves. "Hello Jiji, your office looks all wrong," Naruto said while smiling cheekily. One could see the reason as to why Naruto didn't enter the office, sitting behind the Hokage's desk. A scowling Hiruzen Sarutobi sat there, upside down working on paperwork. A mad glint suddenly appeared in his eyes when he saw Naruto in front of his office. "Naruto, I knew it was you. If you don't reverse this right now, I'll forbid Tucci from serving you ramen ever again, I swear to Kami, I'll do it." Naruto blanched at the outburst, he might have gone a little overboard with this one. Waving his hand in front of him he said, "I'll do it Jiji. Just leave me my ramen, I swear I won't prank you again." With his last words spoken, Naruto dashed into the adjacent room and ripped a paper seal from the wall that was shared with the Hokage's office. Repeating his action with the outside wall and the room across from the first, he arrived in front of the slide door just in time to see the reversal of his prank. Every item in the office, Hokage included, made half a flip and landed on the floor. Hiruzen collected himself and took a few deep breaths. If he was quite honest, he was amazed by the pranks the young boy could make. His Anbu spent a good half hour trying to figure out what was wrong, without success. Although, the pranks were much more troublesome, they were also more enjoyable, if they weren't played on him, that is. He still wasn't certain whether he should regret the day he bought Naruto his genjutsu equipment or not. "Naruto-kun, were you only here to see the results of your latest prank or is there another reason? While we're at it, how did you do that?" the Hokage asked, raising his voice a little at the end. Naruto grinned cheekily while answering, "Well, it was part of the reason I wanted to come by. I didn't expect the furniture to turn, to be quite honest. As to how I did it, I simply reversed the effects of a gravitation seal. As you know, increasing gravity is quite simple and doesn't take much chakra, the opposite however, let's just say it's fortunate that I got so much chakra, the seal's effects would have reversed on its own quite soon I guess. As to the other reason, I actually need your help Jiji. You play a prank on me and then dare to ask for my help. Give me a reason to actually help you." "Well, I'm certain I can do even more annoying thing with seals," Naruto answered grinning, "plus, I actually didn't expect to need your help. Itachi Nai has almost no time for me anymore. Ever since he was made Anbu captain he had less and less time." The Sandaime nodded to himself. Although the reason for Itachi's absence was more related to the issues with his clan rather than his position, Naruto was right. "Alright Naruto-kun, what do you need help with?" "Well you see, I actually want to take the graduation test this year. I mean I have 3 tries and maybe I'll be able to do it. I actually suspected that you might try, but I don't see a problem with that. Well, I know I'll pass Taijutsu and Gyukujutsu and the written test should be possible, but I can't get this stupid clone jutsu to work. Henge and Kawarimi are super easy, but this stupid clone is always dead," Naruto said, his voice laced with annoyance. "Have you tried using more chakra Naruto-kun?" "Of course, but they get even worse then," Naruto answered grimacing. "He has too much chakra and not good enough control to make a simple illusion," then Hiruzen mused, "I believed Kushina had the same problem, what to do though?" "Jiji. I'm sorry Naruto-kun, I was just thinking about the problem and I might have a solution. You see, it's quite possible that you have too much chakra to make a simple clone. The Uzumaki were quite famous for their large chakra reserves," Hiruzen said. "What do you mean, the Uzumaki? You telling me I have a clan?" Naruto asked, trying to keep the ruse of his ignorance concerning his heritage up. "Sadly, no. The Uzumakas were wiped out at the start of the Second Shinobi World War. It seems that our history classes aren't as good as they should be. You see the Uzumaki lived in Yuzushiogakure no Sado and were quite famous for several things. We were closely allied but unfortunately unable to help them in time when they were attacked by the combined force of several villages. To this day, we honor them by wearing their symbol on our chiknin and jinin vests," Hiruzen explained. That last tidbit of information was actually new for Naruto. He knew that the villages were allied and he had seen the Uzumaki swirl but never made the connection to the vests. "Well, then my mum or dad must have survived, maybe others survived too. I will find them and bring them back to Konoha," Naruto said with conviction in his voice. "That is a wonderful goal Naruto. However, back to your problem. I'm going to teach you a different clone technique. Under normal circumstances, I would never teach this to an 8-year-old, but your chakra reserves should allow you to perform the jutsu. I could teach you the elemental version of the clone jutsu, but I think this one will prove itself quite useful in the future." 14. July 1298. The last 2.5 months before his first graduation exam went by rather swift for Naruto. He was revising the written part of the exam a lot, slacking off in his genjutsu studies in exchange. The young blonde usually had a quick workout in the morning, then either went to the academy or studied by himself. In the afternoon, he would work on his Tai and Gyukujutsu and finish off with his chakra control training. Naruto strictly followed the advice from his books concerning the physical aspects of his training. His body was still too young for heavy workouts, and combined with Tai and Bukijutsu training, he did easily enough to build some muscle. The day, however, was special. He skipped his morning routine entirely and went straight to the academy. It was after all the day he had his graduation exam. Naruto thought himself more than a little lucky to have met Itachi over a year ago. The teenager had explained to him how the graduation exam would be marked. There would be 5 tests, namely Tai-Nin and Bukijutsu, physical conditioning and academic knowledge. To pass you had to score at least 60% on 3 exams and at least 50% overall. Naruto knew he would pass Nin and Bukijutsu easily. Due to his young age, the physical conditioning and Taijutsu exams would be rather difficult and he was not exactly the most diligent student. Luckily, Itachi explained that the written exam focused on command structure, the shinobi code of conduct and related topics. While a lot of academic knowledge was important, it could always be supplemented by teammates, behavior in front of clients and on missions, however, was paramount, as such the focus lay heavily on those aspects. Thinking about his impending graduation, after all, there was no doubt he would pass. He was a little saddened. While he didn't exactly enjoy the few lectures he witnessed, he actually got along with a few of his yearmates. The Akimichi Nara and Inyazuka clanhairs were quite fun to hang out with. They weren't exactly best friends, but maybe he could invite them to a restaurant after he received his first few mission payments. Most of the other kids in his class he didn't even know by name. He was aware of the other heirs of major clans, namely the Aburame, Hyuga, and Yamanaka clan, and then of course the younger siblings of Itachi. When he first started at the academy, Naruto had tried to befriend them, but Sasuke acted like an arrogant prick and glared at anyone who even tried to talk to his sister. Suffice to say, it was his first and last interaction with the 2 Uchihas. Itachi had actually laughed at his brother's behavior when Naruto told him about it. Itachi never laughed. Thinking about the Uchiha also left him pondering about Itachi's behavior lately. While Itachi didn't have as much time as he used to since the autumn of last year due to his promotion, it got even worse in the last few months. And when he actually met with Naruto, he seemed distracted and extremely stressed. Naruto mused whether his goal of joining Anbu might be a bad idea after all. Arriving at the academy, he went to his usual classroom. He received some weird looks from his classmates. He was after all not seen too often in the classroom. Chimjai quickly roped him into some small talk since Shikamaru was taking a nap as usual. When the bell rang, the students started to quieten down and Iruka stood in front of the class. As you know, this is the day of graduation. While not recommended, any and all students are allowed to sit the exam. Be aware that during the allocated 5 years to pass the exam, you are only allowed 3 tries. If you're not interested in taking the exam, today various Chunin and Junin will show off some of their skills to you. For those who want to try for graduation, the written exam will be held in classroom B003. Everyone else follow me outside. "Ah no, Ashiro-sensei." "What?" came rather aggravated reply from his Chunin examiner. Naruto was currently tested for the 3 academy ninjutsu. Having narrowly passed his 3 weakest exams, he breezed through the kunai and shuriken throwing. He had already performed both the Henge and Kawarimi flawlessly. His only hurdle to becoming a shinobi was the clone jutsu. Okijama told me that I had too much chakra for a simple Bunshin no jutsu and taught me a different version. He told me that I should inform you about the change and if there were any problems, you should bring it up with him. Naruto said, trying to sound as innocent as possible. He had already noticed the animosity that Chunin held for him and was grateful that his exam was almost over. "Gigi. I passed. Look. I told you could do it, Dadabeo." With a strained smile, Hiruzen Sarutobi turned away from the window overlooking Konoha towards the blonde boy who held a Konoha hit I-8 with a blue strip of cloth towards him. "Very good, Naruto, I'm proud of you. Unfortunately, I have a lot of work to do, otherwise I would have invited you to some ramen. How about you indulge yourself and tell Tucci to put it on my tab. I'm sure AM wants to see you too and hear all about your exam." Naruto came to a halt and peered at the Hokage. He was sure that his Jai-san would have gone out to celebrate with him. His face lost a little of his happiness when he said, "Sure Gigi, I'll do that, thanks." "Oh, and Naruto, one more thing. The Ninpu Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, ninja art. Shadow clone technique has a secondary function apart from producing a solid clone. You might have noticed that you receive your clone's memories whenever you dispel them. This makes them very good for spying and general intelligence gathering. With your growing chakra reserves, you will soon be able to produce rather large numbers of clones. The nins who can create multiple clones often use them to train muscle memory or chakra control in their downtime, since both are more mental aspects than physical aspects of training. However, I caution you to not use this ability for a while. Your mind is still very young, and receiving multiple different memories can put a heavy strain on your brain. Fortunately, that only happens when you actually concentrate on the memories you receive and try to process them. Therefore, using multiple clones for mundane tasks shouldn't be a problem, as long as you simply ignore the information you receive once they are destroyed. Promise me that you will keep training the usual way until I tell you that it is safe. You're very young and already genin, there's no need for you to accelerate your training even more. That's awesome, Gigi. I promise, but when do you think I can do that? Chakra control is super annoying to learn, and having clones do it would save so much time. Not before you are 13, Naruto, you need to grow both physically and mentally first. Considering that you can use the Kage Bunshin for recon missions, I give you permission to use one clone to assist with your training. Be aware though, that while you receive the memory of the clone, your progress will be slowed down. The reason for that is rather simple. Your clone has all your knowledge at the moment of its creation and simply works with that knowledge until destruction without actually processing the experiences it gains. In other words, the clone simply gathers information and returns that information to you upon destruction. It's still up to you to process and analyze the information, do you understand? Hi Gigi. I gotta go, still have a month until team assignments and lots of training to do. Naruto exclaimed while turning around, making his way out of the Hokage's office. And Naruto. Be home early today please, and don't forget to register for your shinobi license in the coming week. Hi Gigi, will do. Later that night. Naruto was awakened rather rudely in the darkest hour of the night. Naruto-kun, wake up. Naruto moaned sleepily before noticing the other person in his bedroom. Itachi Nai, what are you doing here? I don't have much time, Naruto-kun, I'm leaving on a long-term mission and wanted to say goodbye first. Long-term what? How long will you be gone? I don't know, Naruto. Since I won't be able to train you for a while, I have a gift for you, Itachi said, handing Naruto 2 scrolls. Open them tomorrow, consider the second a graduation gift. Very good, Nai-san, I wish I had a gift for you too. There is one thing I would ask of you, Naruto. You're a shinobi of Konoha now, please watch over my siblings while I'm gone. I promise. Naruto said with determination. Very good, Naruto-kun. I'm afraid I'll have to leave now. Until next time, and Itachi vanished into the night. Ninja How To, Chapter 1 Being a Ninja. What does it truly mean to be a shinobi or kunoichi? Different takes on history tell us different stories. It is generally agreed that the Sage of Six Paths made the first steps towards using chakra as it is used today. Over the centuries much changed and even more was forgotten. Too many academy students see the career of a ninja in the wrong light. It isn't some great adventure, neither is it some glorious path to riches. Our forefathers taught us that being a shinobi means to endure. To carry the hardships and burdens of our people, to defend them and to carry on doing so against the worst adversaries whether mental or physical. I believe there is more to it than simply endure, however. I believe it is only in battle that one gets to know himself and those around him. For it is in battle when you have to be honest with yourself to stand against your enemies. To be aware of your strength and your weakness. Being a ninja is path to self-awareness, and there is no friendship that compares to those you forge in battle. While the meaning of being a ninja has not changed much over the years, how to be a ninja has. I have addressed this problem in the introduction already, our shinobi and kunoichi are becoming lax. Being a shinobi is more than breathing fire or shoot lighting from your fingers. It may appear hypocritical to hear such words from the foremost user of Suiton Jutsu, however there is a place and a time. Ninja once were silent killers. The shadows that strike without being seen. We used to laugh at samurai and their flashy, honorable ways only to become like them. Being a ninja is not honorable, it is not fun, and there is nothing glorious about it. True ninja are those that are not seen, not heard and most importantly not noticed at all. When trying to achieve a mission goal, always remember, it is best when no one notices what your goal was. There is always more than one way to complete your mission, choose the most inconspicuous, the one that leaves the least traces, always. Chapter 3. 18. July 1298. Despite having just graduated, the next few days were very depressing for Naruto. He spent the morning after his graduation in his apartment looking at Itachi's gifts. The first was a jutsu scroll for the Shunshin. Naruto bounced around his apartment quite a bit. However, there was also a note attached stating that he should start with water walking before trying the jutsu. Apparently, the jutsu could be quite dangerous when performed with bad chakra control. His other gift was a storage scroll, and when Naruto pushed some chakra into it, a box with 50 new Anbu grade kunai and shuriken popped out. Considering that Anbu only used the best equipment, one could assume that the weapons were quite expensive. Naruto smiled at the added strips of soft leather and the short instruction on how to put the leather on the kunai handle. Naruto had debated with Itachi many times over the last year about how kunai were technically close combat knives, not throwing knives, and apparently, Itachi tried to mock him a little bit about it. Naruto decided to wrap the leather around 10 of the kunai and to use them as actual knives and the rest for throwing. After having eaten a healthy lunch, Naruto decided to visit the Hokage and show him Itachi's gift. That was when he heard the first rumors about the Uchiha massacre. Everyone was saying that Itachi went mad and killed his whole clan. Apart from the fact that Naruto didn't believe Itachi would ever do that, how could a single man wipe out a whole clan? He knew Itachi was super strong, but there were other strong Uchihas for sure. To his utter dismay, he couldn't even ask his Jai-san. The Hokage had absolutely no time for Naruto due to the massacre and its aftermath. 25. July 1298. 1 week later, Naruto wasn't certain how to feel about Itachi. Although his Jai-san had confirmed that Itachi massacred his whole clan, Naruto didn't believe that Itachi, as the villagers put it, went around the bend. He had visited Naruto on the night it happened and he seemed quite normal. If he were actually insane, he would have killed Naruto too, anything else didn't make sense. And he left his little siblings alive, so he definitely cared about them. Finally, there was still that nagging thought that even Itachi couldn't kill so many people without being noticed. In conclusion, Naruto really wasn't sure what to think. He decided he would simply ask Itachi himself one day, not even considering that Itachi was now S-rank Nukenin, and Naruto as a shinobi of the leaf was therefore obliged to kill him on sight. Naruto had also realized that Koto-chan had to have been an Uchiha. When the woman had come by the very first time, she had told him that she was not supposed to visit him, so they had to keep it a secret. Instead of risking a 6-year-old accidentally slipping, she simply didn't tell him her name and told Naruto to call her Koto-chan. He knew that she would have come by after she heard about his graduation or would have told him if she were to be out of the village for a longer time. The week had also a slight upside, however. After having talked about Itachi with his Jai-san, the Hokage took him shopping for his shinobi gear. He already had all the kunai and shuriken he needed, but there were still clothes and ninja wire and bandages and all the other stuff he had to buy. The Sandaime took him to his personal shinobi outfitter, Hirashi's shinobi gear. Apparently Hirashi and his Jai-san fought together in the first shinobi war and after being injured, Hirashi opened his shop. Ever since, Hiruzen was a loyal customer. Naruto quite liked Hirashi, who treated him kindly. However, he declined the offer of buying a weapon, having already decided that he first wanted to work on the more general aspects of his skills before taking up a weapon. Although Naruto was already certain that he would choose some sort of sword, it was just by far the coolest weapon. Naruto left the store with his Jai-san on his heels and clad in brand new Anbu-style pants. Meaning black cargo pants with lots of pockets, finished off by bandages around his shins. For his upper body, he had chosen a black sleeveless hoodie with red trim on the waist and shoulders and a custom-made, red Uzumaki swirl on his back. The ensemble was finished by black shinobi sandals and red fingerless gloves. Naruto himself thought that he looked quite badass. He wore 2 standard pouches on the right side of his hip. One with medical equipment, such as bandages, blood-replenishing pills and soldier pills, and one for shuriken and standard kunai. Bandaged on his right thigh was a pouch dedicated to his 10 leather-hilted kunai, and on his left thigh was another pouch with various supplies such as ninja wire and various seal tags. All the pouches being a natural gray color. Having forgotten about his ninja registration, the Sandaime accompanied Naruto to the administrative building. After a quick photograph with his new look, he handed his registration form to the Sandaime and made his way to Ichiraku's. The Hokage decided to retire to his office instead of abusing his wallet even more after the shopping tour Naruto had just made on his pocket. 17. August 1298. Stupid, biased sensei and his stupid genin test, grumbled one Naruto Uzumaki on his way back to his apartment. Changing his mind, he jumped onto the next roof and made his way towards the Hokage tower. He needed advice, and with Itachi gone, the only one he trusted was his Jai-san. Due to his early graduation and general disposition, Naruto just narrowly made the cut. Since he was still rather small compared to the usual graduates, his taijutsu wasn't rated too highly either. This led to him finishing in the middle of the pack of graduates. Therefore, his former teammates were both civilian-born, finishing their exams in his grade spectrum. Most students from ninja families ended up with top grades. Being only 9, his now former teammates didn't take him too serious and they failed the test set by their Junin sensei spectacularly. Now, he had 2 choices. Go back to the academy for another year, which seemed rather dull, or join the genin reserves. Joining the reserves meant getting missions from time to time, filling up empty spots on teams. For low-rank missions it was usually a genin team with a Junin sensei, which was missing 1 genin due to injuries. For higher-ranked missions, sometimes reserve genin were picked to fill the spot of a missing chunin temporarily. However, this also meant that he had no way to participate in the Chunin exams and getting a field promotion in peace times was a lot more difficult. Therefore, he needed his Jai-sen's advice, he would know what was best. Unfortunately, the office was currently occupied by all the Chunin senseis reporting back from their genin tests. Although Naruto's patience had definitely gotten better, he was still fidgeting the time he was waiting outside the office. When the last Chunin had finally left, he quickly made his way inside. "Boy Gigi. I need your help. I failed the stupid genin test," Naruto said a little downtrodden. "I know Naruto-kun, I just received the results. I guess you don't know what to do." "Hi Gigi. I think I'll join the reserves, but then again, I don't want to be a genin forever." Flashback. 3. August 1298, 1 week before team assignments. "What do you mean I won't get a genin team Hokage-sama? I thought you want me to work with Naruto." "Yes, that was the plan Kakashi-kun. However, due to recent events, we're short on personnel as you should well know. Anbu agents had to take over the village security and missions are stacking up. Not to mention that you're currently the only person with a Sharingan in the village. The council voted against your appointment because the elders want to keep you back in order for you to take up the two Uchihas when they graduate. But that's still 4 years from now. By then, any team I would take now would have easily made Chunin," Kakashi exclaimed. "I know the Kakashi," the Hokage said, raising his voice a little, "but there's nothing I can do. Some pushed for the Uchihas to graduate early, but I blocked them from the start. I won't have them under the strain of ninja life only a year after their whole clan was slaughtered. If I can, I will make certain that they stay the whole 5 years in the academy. The elder will push for some Chunin that will fail Naruto. Danzo still has his eyes on him. You won't allow Danzo to train him, so the only way for Danzo to get to him is by making Naruto desperate for training," Kakashi exclaimed angrily. "Remember who you're talking to, Kakashi," Hiruzen said, emitting some kai. "Omen Hokage-sama, I was out of line." "Hi, you were Kakashi-kun. Don't think I have made no contingency plan. If Naruto fails, I will push him into joining the reserves. I have complete control over mission assignments, therefore I can make certain that Naruto gets decent experience. He should be able to make 2 or 3 Kage Bunshin by now, so he can complete D ranks all by himself. Then I will simply put him on as many C ranks as possible without raising too much suspicion. Having people think he gets preferential treatment would make the situation only worse. But what about his training? Without a sensei to help him along, anything above C rank could be dangerous. My hope is that one of the Chunin teams will take him on permanently after seeing his performance. They could help him along nicely. If nothing changes after a few months, I believe you could visit him from time to time in his training ground. He uses one of the more secluded close to the village wall, I believe it's number 23. Naruto can be quite resourceful if need be, I'm certain he will find someone to show him some things sooner or later. And lastly, in case he's still a genin in 4 years, we'll simply put him on your team with the 2 Uchihas. That could actually be quite nice. Having an experienced genin would make things easier. On the topic of early graduation, why is Naruto the only one graduating early? I was certain more would try. There were a few more that tried, but no one else passed, and I don't believe there will be any early graduates in the near future. When I effectively blocked the push for the Uchiha's early graduation, I apparently put ideas in the head of some clan heads. They want to abolish the whole concept of early graduation. Why would they want to do that? Look at it this way. Of the 2 most recognized early graduates in the last 20 years, one has so much mental scarring that he's perpetually late to anything that isn't an A or S ranked mission because he's staring at the memorial stone, and the other just massacred almost his whole clan. And of course there's another early graduate that was betrayed by her master and infected with a cursed seal. That was mean Hokage-sama, Kakashi said childishly in response to the jibe on his lateness, and there are many early graduates that developed well. My apologies, Kakashi-kun, came the completely insincere voice of Hiruzen, and while you're correct, they don't think that the risk is worth it, especially in peace times. I'm certain, if war looms on the horizon, early graduation shall be the norm once again. I'm just happy that Naruto made the cut in time. Hi, me too. Very well, I have been assigned to border patrol since I won't become a sensei, so I won't be around for the next 3 months. I know Kakashi-kun, I was the one who assigned it, Hiruzen said grinning slightly. But why would you do that to me? Because even though you didn't have to be here, you didn't know that. You were so late that you actually missed the whole damn assignment. Kakashi deflated at the rebuke and hunched out of the office. Hi Hokage-sama, he said, idly waving his hand over his shoulder. Flashback end. Yes, I think joining the reserves might be the best for now, Naruto-kun. You do know how the mission ranking system works, don't you? Hi Gigi, missions go from D to S rank, D ranks being the easiest. Exactly. What you don't know is that D ranks are solely for genin. They are used to improve teamwork and essential skills you need before going outside the village. Some would call them chores, but they're actually quite useful. For example, babysitting is not so different from escort or protection missions, it just doesn't involve fighting. Or catching runaway pets involves setting up traps and working together. Hi Gigi. It sounds boring though. Yes, I thought you would say so Naruto-kun, Hiruzen chuckled. However, due to the jutsu I taught you, you should be able to do those missions all on your own. If you do 2 or 3 per day you should have a nice steady income and still enough time for training. I will make certain that you get some more interesting missions soon enough. Now, I have another gift for you. Do you know what this is? The Sandaime asked, producing a sheet of paper. Looks like paper. Hi Naruto-kun, but this is special paper. We call it chakra paper, it shows a ninja's affinity for nature manipulation. Take me as an example. When I was a genin, I had a strong affinity for earth and a minor for fire. When you master one elemental manipulation, more often than not, a ninja develops other affinities. I have mastered every nature manipulation, although my earth jutsus are still the strongest per chakra input, and I am able to mold earth chakra the faster than any other element. Whoa Gigi, that's amazing. Naruto exclaimed, snatching the paper from Hiruzen's hand, so how does it work? You simply push your chakra into it Naruto-kun. It reacts depending on your affinity. Crumbling for earth, turning to ash for fire, crinkling for lighting, getting wet for water or splitting in half for air. Naruto did as he was told and a moment later the paper became wet before splitting in half. That would mean affinity for water with a minor wind affinity Naruto-kun. Cool. This makes me even more badass. They never taught us how to master nature manipulation at the academy though. With good reason. Nature manipulation is only needed to advance to Chunin rank Naruto-kun. As you know, becoming Chunin is possible by either field promotion or taking part in the Chunin exams. However, you don't need to display any particular skill set. It is different for Chunin. Since Chunin can become sensei themselves, they need to be at least competent in the 3 main shinobi arts. Competence in ninjutsu means mastering at least one nature manipulation and being proficient in the use of a second element. There is also a lot of knowledge that needs to be showcased and has to be learned by the aspiring Chunins themselves, at least the academic aspects. However, since you can't fully train your body yet, I thought you might like to start with nature manipulation. After all, it's never too early to hone your skills. Mastering an element is done in 2 steps or with some elements in 3. Although, the first step is very similar with every element. I'll tell you about it in a minute. I suggest you start with water manipulation since it's your dominant element, Naruto-kun. Using elemental jutsu usually means transforming your chakra directly into the chosen elemental nature. When mastering an element, you change that process. Instead of transforming chakra, you use it to influence that element. Take the Doton Dorikeki no Jutsu, Earth style. Mud wall technique as an example. There are 2 ways to perform the jutsu. The unexperienced earth user transforms chakra into earth and spits it out, creating a wall. Someone who has worked on earth manipulation uses his chakra to influence the earth around him, rising an earth wall from the ground. This gives you a distinct advantage in a fight. You utilize less chakra for the same result and the wall appears much faster. On the other hand, the Suiton Tepdama no Jutsu, water style. Liquid bullets takes longer if you don't transform your chakra since you would have to swallow water first in order to manipulate it. It is of course possible to use the water within your body, but that's quite dangerous and not recommended. That is what makes water manipulation so special. While water is everywhere around us, it is often not in its pure form, but in the air or the plants. Tobirama Senju, a true master of water manipulation, was able to dissolve water out of anything. He is to this day the only ninja to use water manipulation on such a scale. The true master of elemental ninjutsu knows when to transform his chakra into the chosen element and when to manipulate the surrounding resources. As you know, we use hand seals to mold and guide our chakra depending on what we want it to do. However, with good control over your element, it is possible to use less hand seals since you have direct control over the element without the need to guide it. Halfway through the Hokage's explanation Naruto became slightly glassy-eyed. Tobirama Senju was one of the foremost Suiton users, at least now I know who the TS guy was that rode out a ninja bringing his focus back on the old man. Naruto heard the end of his monologue. Awesome Gigi, so how does it work? It seems I have lots of training to do. I plan to show this to you whether you passed or not, so I came prepared, the Sandaime said, picking up a lonely leaf from his desk. As I said, nature manipulation for every element is very similar in the first step. You try to recreate what happened to the chakra paper with an ordinary leaf. While the goal is to influence and not create the element in the end, we have to start small. The idea is to do the nature transformation outside of your body. This way you experience the feeling of a chakra-infused element even though you created it, Hiruzen said, dampening the leaf in his hand with his chakra. Alright Jiji, so I just try to transform my chakra without using hand seals and outside of my body, correct? Exactly Naruto-kun. However, I suggest you first learn a few C-ranked water jutsus to get a feel for your element. I believe the genin part of the shinobi library contains a few. There might also be some other low-ranked jutsu you want to look into. Remember, it's better to master a few than being sloppy at many. One other thing. From now on you'll have to buy your groceries again yourself, Hiruzen said. But Jiji. You know the merchants don't like me and don't want to sell me their stuff, Naruto exclaimed a little depressed. Hi Naruto, I know. However, you're a shinobi now. Maybe you should remind those merchants that discriminating and mistreating one of the village's ninja is considered treason. As you know, there's only one punishment for traitors, the Hokage explained. Now, off you go, I have paperwork to finish. I'll be on my way then. Bye Jiji. 18. August 1298. After 1 month of D-rank missions, Naruto had formed the distinguished opinion that they sucked. At first it was somewhat funny to abuse his Kage Bunshins to do the work of 4 ninjas simultaneously. Quickly enough though, the whole thing became repetitive. On the upside, he had lots of time to train. His usual routine hadn't changed much since the academy, only that he now did D-ranks instead of studying. He was still working more on agility and endurance rather than strength, since his body wouldn't be able to support real weight training. With his improving chakra control, he would be able to supplement his strength by enhancing his muscles with chakra. This would have to do until he was a little older. His speed at least was quite respectable by now. His afternoon changed a little bit as well. Instead of doing chakra control for an hour, he let one clone do it the whole afternoon, which actually helped him more, if only by a margin. After lunch, he usually did 1 hour of each Tai and Bukijutsu. He even added the use of ninja wire to his shuriken and kunai throwing repertoire. His taijutsu was still the standard academy style, although he had looked into both his parents' taijutsu scrolls. He didn't want to learn difficult stances from a scroll without supervision. He'd rather learn it correctly the first time instead of going back time and time again because his balance was off or something like that. In his few taijutsu classes at the academy, he had seen how long it took other students to work out basic mistakes and he wanted to avoid that at all cost. So he just trained what he knew and hoped that someone could help him soon. By 3 in the afternoon, he usually worked on his jutsu. His clone had become quite proficient at water walking and by extension, Naruto himself too. After 1 month, he had added a few useful techniques to the standard Academy 3. As his Jai-sen had advised him, he learned a few Suiten jutsu. He didn't get the scrolls from the shinobi library however, but from his parents' personal scrolls. He had discovered the hidden door to his parents' jutsu vault only recently. It was protected by another blood seal hidden in the library. Since both his parents had quite the collection of jutsu for almost any shinobi art, the Jinjutsu section was rather small, he didn't have time to look through all of them. Naruto had obviously heard of his father's most famous jutsu, the Hiraishin and Rasengan, but knew they were too difficult for him. Having the Sandaime as his role model led Naruto to believe in quality over quantity. By now he had mastered 1D rank, the Suiten. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water style. Water clone technique and was still working on a C rank, the Suiten. Tepondama no Jutsu, water style. Liquid bullets. Naruto learned something else the academy didn't cover. First, chakra seemed to get accustomed to a certain manipulation. After having used the Kage Bunshins for a few months already and now learning the Mizu Bunshin, he was able to create a Mizu Bunshin with only 1 hand sign instead of 2 after mastering the jutsu. Second, even though he didn't know it then, it had made sense that the higher rank the jutsu was, the more hand seals were needed. Looking through many jutsu scrolls this month, he had noticed a pattern. B rank. 1 to 2 hand seals. C rank. 3 to 9 hand seals. B rank. 10 to 15 hand seals. A rank. 16 to 24 hand seals. S rank. 25 plus hand seals. Of course, there were inconsistencies, such as his father's Ninpu. Rasengan, ninja art. Spiraling sphere, which needed no hand seals at all. Another example were the elemental dragon bullet techniques, all of them required 44 hand seals, simply because there was a lot of shape manipulation involved, which was difficult to do without the help of hand seals to direct the chakra. Aside from the elemental jutsu, he had mastered 3 others. His favorite and the gift from Itachi, the Ninpu. Shunshin no Jutsu, ninja art. Body flicker technique, the Ninpu. Kage kunai no Jutsu, ninja art. Shadow kunai technique and its counterpart, the Ninpu. Kage shuriken no Jutsu, ninja art. Shadow shuriken technique, all 3 being D rank jutsu although it was slightly misleading. The Shunshin, while simple in a standard application, required quite good chakra control and was very difficult to use in combat situations. Both Kage Kunai and Kage Shuriken had a similar issue. Creating only one copy with the jutsu was very simple. However, to make it effective in battle larger numbers were required and as such the chakra requirement was very high. A few days ago he had started out with level 3 of Kenjutsu. Right from the bat, he noticed that from now on his progress would be even slower. The stuff was becoming quite complex. He was happy however that he could make his own standard grade explosive tags by now. It saved him quite some money having a Kage Bunshin riding up tags through the evenings. He hadn't started inventing his own seals yet apart from the reversed gravity seal and even that was devised from another seal. Naruto was quite certain that invention would only start at level 6 and above since there could go so much wrong when messing around with Kenjutsu. All in all, he was quite capable for an almost fresh genin and could hold his own pretty well. This led to Naruto sitting happily on a stool at Ichiraku slurping some ramen. He indulged himself today since his first C rank was coming up and with it, his first foray outside the village walls. It was a simple document delivery to the land of Iron and the chance for trouble was quite small. While there were many bandits on the way to Iron Country, they rarely attacked ninja. Naruto was assigned to a genin team that had already worked together for a little over a year. He was filling the spot of a currently injured genin. He actually knew one of the two remaining genin, Hana Inuzuka. She was the sister of one of his former classmates, Kiba Inuzuka and the same age as Itachi. Unknown to Naruto, Hana was promoted to Chunin in the exams held in Kumagakure no Sato 2 weeks ago. Konoha had sent only one team to Kumo since relations were still a little frosty over the kidnapping incident 5 years ago. The exams were also the cause for the now injured genin lying in the hospital, he had been defeated in the final round. However, since their team worked well together and they all got along, it was decided to keep the team in its current state and only switch a genin in for the next Chunin exams should the other two want to participate again. The only other noteworthy thing was the slight upswing in Naruto's social life. He had gone out to one of the Barbec restaurants with Shinji and Shikamaru a few times. Once, even Shino and Kiba accompanied them. The Uchihas kept to themselves of course, and so did their fan club. Shinji and Shikamaru were turning from mere acquaintances to friends, and Naruto was rather happy about it. The two were very surprised when Naruto met up with them one evening after the academy had finished. They had thought that he dropped out and not graduated early. Shows how little he had actually talked with the two of them before his graduation. It was also then that he learned that early graduation was not possible anymore and the remaining students had to sit through all 5 years in the academy. 13. November 1298. Over the following 2 months Naruto had completed 6 more C ranks, 4 of them with Hana's team. He got along with both Hana's teammate and the ninja of other teams he went on missions with. To Naruto's astonishment, the other ninja were quite friendly to him even if he had to live through a few jibes and taunts about his age and being a rookie. He put it down to them not knowing about his burden because they were too young. Naruto even had a few decent spars with Hana and got to know her a little better. Apparently, she was planning to become a veterinarian, which was the reason for her to stay on her genin team. Her goal was to pick up some medical ninjutsu on the way and then join the reserve corps while taking care of the many ninkin the Inuzuka clan owned. Since Naruto usually did the D ranks all on his own, his payment was quite decent and after looking into his savings, he decided to cut down to only 1 mission per day so he could spend more time training. One of his personal highlights was his own birthday. He had never celebrated during the Kikbi festival for multiple reasons. This year however, Shikamaru, Shinji and Kiba came by his apartment. Shinji's mother had even made a cake for him and they all brought presents. Another nice thing was being invited to Shikamaru's birthday party. It wasn't anything special, a simple dinner at their usual Barbec place. There were a few more people, for example Ino Yamanaka. Naruto learned that the Akimichi, Nara and Yamanaka clan heads were quite close after having been on a team together for a long time and becoming famous as the Inoshika CHM trio. Of course, Naruto also met with his Jai-san from time to time. Whether it was to discuss his training or going to Ichiraku's for some ramen. Concerning shinobi matters, the 6 C ranks he had participated in until now were all rather boring. While he liked the change of scenery and getting to know other ninjas, not once did he have to actually fight. Naruto wasn't certain what to think of it. On one hand, he wanted to prove himself, but on the other, he was a little apprehensive about his first kill. He of course knew that being a ninja involved killing others, being an Anbu agent even more so, but he didn't have to like it. At least he now knew that he could keep up with other genin and chunin in terms of stamina. Even more important, due to the contact with other ninja, he learned quite a lot about Konoha's ninja corps. The most crucial information being that the new and upcoming Taijutsu specialist, Mido Guy, had a big rivalry going with the famous elite Junin Kakashi Haddock. He also learned that the so-called green beast of Konoha was a little dense in certain aspects. Naruto didn't like manipulating people, even less so if they were comrades. In this case, however, he made an exception. He needed help after all. Thus, we find Naruto currently sitting on a roof outside a shinobi bar, frequented by various Junin, including Mido Guy. He was waiting for his target to appear while his thoughts drifted back to his training. After having mastered both the Suiton, Tepdama no Jutsu, water style, Liquid Bullets technique, and the Suiton, Mizurappa no Jutsu, water style, Trumpet technique, he didn't find any other C-rank water jutsu he wanted to learn. He thought the Suiton, Surum no Jutsu, water style, water prison technique sounded interesting, but as long as he was so small compared to potential enemies and relied heavily on his speed, a jutsu that forced him to stay still wasn't the brightest idea. Therefore, he concentrated more on water manipulation and Kenjutsu. Both came along quite well. Naruto was certain he would get the nature manipulation down soon, being already able to dampen parts of the leaf. As he suspected, Kenjutsu became a lot more complex since reaching level 3, and without help, his progress was rather slow. It was nothing that killed his mood, however, as he was certain that soon enough he would find someone to help him. His foremost priority was finding a Taijutsu sensei, and so his mind went back to his impending mission. Right as Naruto turned his focus back on the building, a ninja clad in green spandex and orange leg warmers exited through the door. After waiting another moment to make certain that he was the only one leaving, Naruto jumped off the roof and walked towards the Junin. Mido-san. Naruto exclaimed. The spandex-wearing ninja turned around and looked towards Naruto. Ah, you must be Naruto-kun, the latest early graduate. What can I help you with? Well, I heard that you know Haddock-san quite well. Of course, I know Kakashi, we're eternal rivals. Guy exclaimed, sporting a good guy pose. Being nearly blinded by the flashing teeth, Naruto squinted his eyes a little. Well, you see, I heard that Haddock-san is the best to ask about Taijutsu in Konoha, and since I'm in the reserve pool, I need a sensei. I thought about asking him, but before I do that, I wanted a second opinion. My rival the best in Taijutsu? Guy gasped, that is most untrue my youthful friend and I will prove it. You are most welcome to join me for my light morning workout. Meet me at 5 AM in training ground 6 if you're interested. Naruto's sweat dropped a little. That was easier than stealing sweets from a baby, Naruto thought. I will think about it, Mido-san, thank you for the opportunity. Nonsense, it is Guy-sensei now, Naruto-kun. Hi, Guy-sensei. 5 minutes later, Hokage Tower. He actually tried to manipulate you, using your rivalry with Kakashi-kun. Hiruzen asked, his left eyebrow shooting upwards. Hi, Hokage-sama. It was most unyouthful from Naruto-kun. However, considering that we're ninjas, it was almost youthful again. I'm quite conflicted about it, to be honest. I see, I'm happy that you accepted him, I'm certain there's a lot you can teach him. Hi Hokage-sama, I'll do my best. Ninja How To, Chapter 2 Mind and Body. There are many things to be said about training when it comes to ninja, but most importantly, it never ends. No jutsu is perfect, no ninja is perfect. Live by those words and you shall overcome your enemies and sometimes even yourself. While all shinobi and kunoichi are aware of the fact that they are required to train their body, many forget the importance of their mind. Jutsu, strength and speed won't always win you a battle, more often than not, it's the quick thinker that comes out on top. However, there is more to the mental discipline than strategy and planning. Mental fortitude is just as important. To withstand killer intent or the taunts of an opponent in order to stay calm and concentrated on your goal is critical for a ninja. Further, there is the danger of trauma. Sooner or later any ninja witnesses things that are difficult to accept. To be able to work through issues and keep your mind healthy is paramount for ninja. It may even come to the point that a ninja is forced to do something he or she may regret for the rest of their lives, for the good of the village. Shinobi and kunoichi kill, steal and sabotage for the good of their village, and not every human is capable to do such things and simply carry on. We must be prepared for the ill we do in order for our village to thrive. When it comes to the body of a ninja, sooner or later a decision has to be made, how a body shall develop. There are obviously limits and predetermined factors set by Mother Nature to be accounted for. Not every type of body is capable of great speed or great strength. Women are generally considered weaker as they cannot achieve the same muscle growth as men. It is idiotic to believe that kunoichi are actually weaker, however. Agility is an often overlooked factor when it comes to physical prowess, and it is an area where women are naturally better. Further, the use of chakra can level the playing field considerably. When one talks about speed, there is often misunderstanding. First of all, to be able to move fast, the body must reach an incredible balance in muscle mass. You want to be as light as possible but have as much muscle as possible to move your weight. It takes a lot of dedication to achieve such a feat. It is often easier to go with a pseudo-speed increase. Instead of moving fast, you move sooner. Reaction timing is often more important than speed. Most battles are fought within close quarters and the actual movements are short, as such speed doesn't come into play as we are led to believe. Instead, being able to react a fraction faster than your opponent is often the bigger advantage. There is some agreement when it comes to the actual training of the body. It is my opinion that endurance trumps all else in the beginning stages of a ninja career. No matter where your path leads you, having high endurance will always be helpful and it sets a good grounding for further improvement. Until such time that one determines where his path leads him, it is folly to be singular in your physical development. Weight training can be excessively dangerous in the early years of a human and as such should be left for specialized improvement. I advise, however, to start early with the training of your explosive strength as well as your reaction timing, as both go hand in hand. Knowing what is about to happen but having your muscles not cooperate is one of the most disconcerting things to ever experience. Another aspect of training that is often overlooked concerns eating and drinking habits. Alcohol and other stimulants are poison to your body and should only be consumed rarely. To improve your physical fitness, it is important that you eat the right food. Proteins and calories need to be consumed in the right amount, coupled with the right fats and other supplements. Chapter 4. 14. November 1298. At 5 a.m. sharp, Naruto's landed in a clearing in Training Ground 6, where he could see Guy already waiting. I just hope he doesn't expect a change of clothes from me, Naruto thought apprehensively. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Welcome to your first training, Guy exclaimed with way too much exuberance for 5 a.m. Naruto idly waved his hand, still half asleep, and mumbled out a good morning. Let us start with a light warm-up before you show me your taijutsu. Guy exclaimed. The light warm-up turned out to be not so light. Naruto started to think about whether this was such a good idea or not, his new sensei was definitely special. This train of thought continued right until they started sparring. He didn't really expect to defeat a Jonin, but it seemed that Naruto didn't pose even the slightest challenge for Guy. You're quite fast, Naruto-kun. How much do you train your body? Guy asked the gasping boy. Thank you, Guy-sensei. I didn't want to do some crazy workout without supervision, so I only run and do stuff with my own body weight. Pull-ups, push-ups and the like. I wasn't sure when I could start to use weights without hampering my bodily growth, so I don't use them, Naruto said, still catching his breath. Understandable, Naruto-kun. I'm happy that you take care of your body. I suggest that you start using some wrist and ankle weights during your workout. However, only put about 5 pounds per arm and 10 pounds per leg. Using low amounts will not damage your growth and it is actually more of a stamina training than strength training. Now, however, I think breakfast would be a good idea, Naruto-kun. We can discuss your training in the meantime. Hi, Guy-sensei, where do you want to go? Jiji said ramen for breakfast is unhealthy and I only ever go to Ichiraku's when not cooking myself. That Naruto was also only welcomed at Ichiraku's and grudgingly allowed at the Barbecue restaurant when he went with Shinji and Shikamaru was left unsaid. Follow me, Naruto-kun. 20 minutes later, the two of them sat in a cafe close to the Hokage Tower. Naruto ordered what he usually made for himself, rice, fermented soybeans and a fried egg, and of course tea. Alright, Naruto-kun, here's my proposition. As long as I'm not on missions, you can train with me. However, I'm not sure what you want to learn, so why don't you tell me what you wanted to do before we go over your workout regime? Well, I was looking for someone to train me in taijutsu is because someone gifted me with some scrolls for 2 different styles. I didn't want to learn something not suited for me and needed someone for a second opinion. I suspect I was meant to combine the two. There's also the fact that learning taijutsu from a scroll just begs for mistakes to be implemented in the forms, Naruto explained. I agree. What are the styles you received named? The Hachidori, Hummingbird, and the Shio no Ken, Tidal Fist style. I see, I think I can help you with both. We shall start on it tomorrow. I have a mission scheduled in 3 days' time, so I can help you with the easier katas of your new taijutsu style the next 2 days. While I'm on my mission, you can perfect them. We repeat that process when I'm back and you've become proficient in my absence. Now onto your training regime, I suggest the following. Try to find a sparring partner for the days I will not be in the village or simply don't have time. If you want, you can meet me at 4 a.m. at the village gates and take part in my stamina training. Afterwards we shall spar for a while and after breakfast we then work on your style for about 2 hours. Afterwards you can do your workout and practice katas until lunch. The afternoon is up to you, since I have my own training to keep up with. That's awesome, Guy-sensei, thanks a bunch. Naruto said with a toothy smile. Can we start right now? I came prepared and have the scrolls with me, Naruto said, still grinning. Of course we can start right away. Before we leave, you might find it interesting that the two styles you mentioned were used by two rather outstanding ninja of Konoha in the past. Although both of them used hand-to-hand combat more as a supplementary skill, as such not many people remember them. I believe you will make them both famous once more, Guy finished, dropping a roll of rim on the table before motioning for Naruto to follow him outside. The two walked casually through Konoha back to training ground 6. Handing the first scroll to his new sensei, Naruto was extremely excited to start and fidgeted while Guy read it. Alright, let's start with the basics. The hummingbird style is quite similar to the Uchiha's interceptor fist. However, instead of heavy counters, it relies on quick jabs at sensitive spots. Probably because there is only so much time to react without the help of a Sharingan. Say Naruto, why do you want to combine it with another style? The hummingbird style has proven to be quite powerful. Well, I feel like both styles do one part right. I prefer the quick counters to the Shio no Ken's heavy hits and grapple moves. On the other hand, I can't really use direct blocks since I will be much smaller and possibly weaker than my enemies for at least a few years. As the scroll explains, the style is based on a strong defense and then counters. The Shio no Ken is much more about evasion and fluent movement, and if I could combine them, maybe I can find a balance. I see. This is a very youthful goal, Naruto-kun, I will help you as much as I can. However, learning and combining two styles will take a lot of time, being proficient in both styles alone will take a few years at least, Guy cautioned. Hi, I know. But in 1 or 2 years I can use Kage Bunshin to get the muscle memory down, thanks to the fur ball in my gut, Naruto said with a toothy grin, it's high time he proves useful for something anyway. You aware of your burden? Guy asked, his gargantuan eyebrows rising up to his hairline. Oops, shouldn't have said that, Naruto said sheepishly, yes, I know about the Kikbi. I'm actually surprised that Hokage Jiji hasn't figured out by now that I know about it. I mean, Bijk Sealing comes up in the first chapter of the Fukinjutsu book he bought me. It's in there as an example of what Fukinjutsu is capable of, Naruto explained. Telling a Jimnin about how he found 2 letters from his parents in a box, stolen from the Hokage's storage room, would probably not go down too well, even if said box technically belonged to Naruto anyway. Thinking about it now, Naruto figured he was quite lucky that his Jai-san hadn't seen him in his parents' house using his crystal ball. He would have to be more careful in the future, only going back in the night would definitely lower the risk. Keeping his last thoughts in mind, he turned his attention back to Guy. Say, Naruto-kun, why don't you want Hokage-sama to know that you know? It's not like he can do anything about it. I don't know really. I think I'm just curious as to when he thinks me ready and trusts me enough to tell me. Very well, now, let's start with those katas, Naruto-kun. Hi, Guy-sensei. 19. March 1299. Time flew by for Naruto. Aside from completing a few more C ranks, he picked up a new project. While his immediate goal was to be promoted to Chunin and then join Anbu, his dream of becoming Hokage was still on his mind. Therefore, he started looking into the administrative aspects of Konoha, i.e. who was responsible for what. It was while reading about mission assignments that he figured out that his Jai-san was subtly helping him along in his career. Naruto was assigned to C ranks much more frequently and much sooner after graduation than all the other reserve genin. It was both heartening and humiliating at the same time. On the one hand, he had someone looking after him, on the other hand, he always thought that he was assigned more C ranks simply because he did such a good job. Naruto kept going out with his friends occasionally. Sometimes Shikamaru and Shinji were even accompanied by others of Naruto's former class, such as Ino. He played shogi with Shikamaru only once and got utterly destroyed. While his tactical thinking wasn't that horrendous, he was more the person to make up things on the fly instead of meticulously planning everything beforehand. He vowed to work on that at a later date. Unfortunately, Naruto wasn't able to participate in the Chunin exams that had taken place in mid-February. While Hana's teammate was fit for duty once again and they would have let him take Hana's spot on the team, the exams were held in Iwagakure. The relations between the two villages were still rather hostile, and the Hokage didn't want to risk sending only 1 or 2 teams to Iowa. While he didn't think that the teams would have been attacked during their stay in the village, it was common for the home village to have by far the most teams participating. The possibility that Iowa teams would directly target Konoha teams was quite high. This was all apart from the fact that Naruto looked distinctively similar to the Yondaime, which would have painted an even bigger target on their back. At least he convinced Hana to spar with him from time to time. Her clan was somewhat specialized in Taijutsu, and despite slowly turning into a support ninja, it was important to keep her skills sharp. And sharp they were, she outclassed Naruto quite a bit. Training with Guy-sensei for 4 months, coupled with regular spars, saw Naruto making huge strides in his taijutsu. His improved workout was noticeable as well. Well, it was simply impossible to build up huge muscles as a 9-year-old, Naruto noticed his kicks and punches becoming stronger. Following Guy's advice, Naruto used his training weights only for his workouts. It was useless to train with weights and not be accustomed to fight without them later. While Hana still pummeled Naruto into the ground more often than not, there was definite improvement. Being new to his Taijutsu style meant that Naruto had to think about each move since it wasn't completely committed to memory yet. As with Taijutsu, his various other skills were improving steadily. He still hadn't found anyone who could help with his Genjutsu inability, but he could make do until he was promoted to Chunin. Since he didn't dare to pick up any B-rank jutsu yet, he branched into a different element and mastered the Futon. Repch no Jutsu, Wind style. Gale Palm technique. It was more of a supplementary technique and rather easy to learn. Combined with Shuriken or Kunai, however, it became very deadly. Naruto was very proud to have mastered the first step in water manipulation just the previous day and was overall quite content with his progress in the 8 months since his graduation. He had also found a book on ninjutsu in his parents' library. Ninjutsu for Dummies spanned from jutsu creation to the intricacies of elemental ninjutsu. The guy who wrote it, Naruto had never heard of any shinobi called Hiruzen, really knew what he was talking about. He planned to ask the Hokage to show him the next step for water manipulation after he returned from his upcoming mission. Naruto was quite nervous since this mission would mark another milestone in his shinobi career. His first B rank. Naruto was aware that there was a reason for his Jai-san to assign him this mission. While he had already completed over 10 C ranks, all of them were either deliveries or preemptive protection details. The presence of shinobi had scared away any possible threat each time. This mission, however, was different. Naruto arrived at the village gate at 5:55 am via Shunshin. One other ninja, clad in standard Chunin garb, with a katana strapped to his back and wearing a bandana, was already waiting. He looked up when he heard the telltale sound of swirling leaves, announcing Naruto's arrival. "Ah, Naruto, good, you're early. My name is Heiichakm Takubetsu Junin, your captain for this mission and leader of Team Hade. We are scheduled to leave at 6:15, so the other two should arrive in a few minutes." "Good morning, Hade-san. If you don't mind, I was assigned this mission only yesterday evening and didn't receive any information, aside from it being B rank." "No problem, Naruto. It's actually a little complicated. The mission was given to all of us on short notice, which is the reason we're lacking our last member. We usually work with Anko Mitarashi, but she works part-time in torture and interrogation, and they need her today. We're assigned to terminate a bandit camp, which is supposed to be based around the border of Hai no Kuni and Tetsu no Kuni. In truth, the camp is a few miles into Iron Country," Hade explained. "So why aren't the samurais taking care of it?" "Because the daimyo of Iron Country is being Hade snorted. "You see, the bandits only attack merchants leaving the land of iron and only those without ninja escorts. Well, it isn't exactly good for business, the daimyo doesn't really care about it. There are few alternatives to the metal working from Iron Country, so merchants travel the roads despite the danger. So, he just lets them kill merchants because he doesn't want to risk his own men and doesn't want to pay for ninjas." Naruto asked incredulous. "Yup, exactly. Technically we're not even allowed to do this mission because it was assigned to Konoha by the Fire Daimyo. As you know, we're only allowed to work on foreign territory if the daimyo of said land knows about it. These kinds of missions are usually taken by Anbu since they simply don't give a shit about such rules," Hade said. "Considering the location of their camp, it's safe to assume that there's at least one ninja with the bandits who knows about these rules. However, since they're still quite close to the border, Hokage-sama decided that a normal team can do it. Personally, I think he just wants to stick it to the daimyo of Iron Country," Hade smiled. "That's also the reason that in the assignment scroll, the bandit camp is said to be at the border, so we're covered." Just as Hade finished with his explanation, the two missing team members arrived in quick succession. "Good, you're here. Guys, this is Naruto, he's replacing Anko for this mission." "Naruto, this is Emiko Maki," Hade said, pointing to the sole kunoichi of team. Emiko wore standard Chunin equipment and looked to be in her late teens, standing out about 5'5" with chocolate brown eyes. She had her brown hair in a braid that reached down to her lower back. "And this is Koji Yamanaka," Hade continued, now pointing to a tall ninja in his early 20s with short platinum blonde hair and green eyes. Naruto waved his hand in a two-finger salute. "Yo, nice to meet you." "Hey Gaki," Emiko exclaimed before turning to Hade, didn't know Kakashi started to corrupt little kids already. Naruto gained a tick mark on his forehead when she said little kid and glared at her. He might be used to the jabs by now, didn't mean he had to like it. Plus, with him standing at just under 4'8", she wasn't that much taller than him, or at least, that's what Naruto tried to make himself believe. I don't think he did, to be honest. Kakashi just spent 2 months on vacation after his discharge from Anbu and the subsequent border control duty, Hayate replied. Whatever, we should head out. Emiko, Koji, you'll have to tell Naruto about your skill set on the way to the border, same goes for you Naruto. I'll talk with you when we make camp. The plan is to arrive at the border in the evening and then attack at dawn. Now, let's go, I take point, Emiko you have the rear, Naruto, Koji take a side each. Lying in his sleeping bag, Naruto thought about the coming day. It was early in the morning and after spending the first part of the night on lookout, he had lain awake for the remaining time, being unable to sleep. He mentally went over everything he learned the previous day. Team Hayate was primarily an assassination and extermination team, but was also capable of recon missions. Koji was the team's support ninja. Apart from his clan's signature mind-walking jutsu, he was proficient in genjutsu and had decent knowledge of the human body due to some medical training. He was capable of using the Irem Shumsen no Jutsu, medical, mystical palm technique to a degree and knew a lot about poisons and their antidotes. Another valuable skill he possessed were his sensory abilities, although they were quite weak and limited to about half a mile. Emiko was, despite her small frame, the team's heavy hitter. With a high affinity for fire, she was the ninjutsu expert in Team Hayate. She was very capable in taijutsu and deadly accurate with all sorts of thrown weapons. Emiko took to teasing Naruto on their way to the border. Usually, Naruto would have reacted rather loudly to the constant teasing, but he was on a mission and tried to ignore her as much as possible. Hayate, aside from being their leader, was an all-around type of shinobi, but specialized in kenjutsu. He was capable in all three of the main shinobi arts and had even taken to look into kenjutsu a little bit. He had a very calm personality and told Naruto also a little about their missing teammate. Naruto couldn't fill her role perfectly, but knowing about her made it at least easier on him. Apparently Anko had quite the impact on all of them. She was an assassination and interrogation expert. Thus, she was very knowledgeable about the human body and all sorts of poison. She was the reason for Koji's interest in medical ninjutsu and human biology. There was nary a ninja who wouldn't break under the combined assault of Anko's physical and Koji's mental torture. The team had been working together for a few years already. Forced to bring some balance to Anko's more loud and boisterous personality had made Hayate much calmer. Emiko, who was rather shy at first, had taken to teasing as well when she couldn't take any more abuse from Anko and became a lot more sociable and open. Everything considered, Naruto had big shoes to fill. However, since their current mission was very straightforward, he was confident to perform satisfyingly. Naruto was ripped from his introspection at 4 AM by Hayate, who went around, quietly rousing his other two teammates from their sleep. Quickly gathering their equipment, they made their way over the border and into the Land of Iron. With the exception of Naruto, they all had a small breakfast of fruits and rice bread while jumping through the forest. Feeling quite nervous and a little nauseous already, eating was the last thing on Naruto's mind. However, he didn't want to go into a fight with a completely empty stomach, so he took to munching on a shinobi ration bar. 1 hour later and a few miles into the Land of Iron, the team split up to look for the bandit camp. The order was to engage under no circumstances and regroup at their current location in 30 minutes. Naruto quickly created a few cage bunshin and headed out. Despite Koji's skill as a censor, they had a big area to cover and not a whole lot of time. It was indeed Koji who found the bandits first and informed his team as soon as they had regrouped. There were about 25 of them sleeping in the open, he started. I saw 6 guards, 3 on elevated positions, each looking either north, east, or south and 3 patrolling the perimeter. Why is no one watching to their west? Hayate interrupted. Oh, right. They made camp in a forest clearing northwest from here, but to their west is a massive rock formation, blocking access to the camp. Access for bandits and civilians or for ninjas. We won't have a problem entering from the west, Koji said with a sadistic smile, understanding what went through his captain's mind. Good, anything else of importance? Yes. In the middle of their camp, there is a single tent. If they have indeed former ninjas with them, they're probably there. It's also safe to assume that they store the stolen weapons there. Alright, so there are no more than 35 hostiles, here's the plan. The common bandits are of no consequence, the most important thing is to eliminate their leaders and get the stolen goods back. We have to take out the guards first and then quickly move on to the tent. Naruto, you will approach the camp from the east side, Koji from the north and I from the south. All 3 of us will have to take out 2 guards each as simultaneously as possible. Meanwhile Emiko will move on to the rock formation. When the guards are dead, we're going to wreak havoc. Use flashy techniques or explosive tags and kill as many as possible as fast as possible. We have to confuse them and lure them away from Emiko, Hayate explained and then turned to their female teammate. You have a single task Emiko. As soon as we have their attention, use your most destructive fire jutsu. How far have you come in using the Kaiten? Nkamakyaku, fire style. Great fire annihilation. It's not that good. I can spread it to about 20 feet, but it takes a lot out of me. I don't know what I thought when I decided to pick up a bloody S-rank jutsu as Chnin, Emiko replied with a grimace. Don't worry Emiko, it should suffice. It's a round tent and when you hit it from above, you can set the whole ceiling on fire, Koji interjected. Perfect. Emiko, your timing will be key, but I'd rather have you use the jutsu too early than too late. If you're too out of it from using it, me or Koji can easily assist you, but if you're using it too late and whoever is inside the tent leaves due to us attacking, the whole thing would be in vain. Naruto, when the tent is set on fire, your opposition will probably lessen quickly. When that happens, I want you to use your Suiton. Mizurappa no Jutsu, water style. Trumpet technique to quench the fire. Huh? Why do you want to put so much effort into setting it ablaze, only for me to quench it again? Naruto asked confused. It's quite simple. If we don't light it up, their leader or leaders will have time to gather their troops. With them being chased out of the tent by threat of being burned alive, they will probably panic as well. However, we don't want to destroy the stolen goods, so we have to put the fire out again. The panic combined with the steam you will be producing should make them easy targets, Hayate explained patiently, and Naruto nodded in response. Alright, dawn will soon be upon us, we don't have much time. Get in position, the camp is about 10 minutes from our position, direction northwest. Koji will need some time to circle the camp, so timer to kill the guards is set to 20 minutes from now. Let's go. 6 AM just outside the camp. Naruto crept steadily closer through the thick forest towards his target, the stationary guard who was sitting on a tree branch seemingly half asleep. He had to get close to the tree line in order to see over the camp towards the rock formation, from which Emiko was supposed to give the go signal. A minute earlier he had detected the patrolling bandit who was now coming from the south towards his position. Naruto was shaking slightly in anticipation of what was to come. Silently moving onto a tree branch above still unsuspecting sentry, he listened for the other guard moving through the woods and glanced towards the rock formation every few seconds. Just as he heard the crack of a branch, he saw a little light blink in the west, his signal. Mentally starting to count the seconds, he had to wait another moment until the patrolling guard came into view. Naruto pulled a kunai out of his pouch and threw it at the guard and accelerated it with a futon. Repch no Jutsu, wind style. Gale palm technique. He didn't wait to see the result and instead dropped from his position towards the stationary sentry, kunai in hand, the guard barely noticed him before his throat was cut. Naruto held onto the body so it wouldn't make sound by dropping to the forest floor and instead draped him sideways over the tree branch. Naruto kept staring at the blood running through his fingers before the sounds of battle ripped him from his near catatonic state. He knew what he had to do. Making his way up the tree next to him, he swiftly jumped towards the edge of the clearing while putting his good kunai back into the pouch on his right thigh. His right hand reached for the pouch on his hip and seized 5 of his older kunai, he didn't want to destroy the ones that had been a gift from Itachi. With his left hand he grabbed the same amount of explosive tags and tied them to the kunai with some ninja wire. The whole process took barely 5 seconds. The bandits that were stationed on the east side of the camp were just grabbing their weapons and moving on to Hayate's and Koji's position when Naruto's kunai landed around them. The young blonde observed with morbid fascination how the left leg of a brutish-looking bandit was torn from his body in a gory show of violence. His other tags didn't do much more than cause a few concussions and strew chaos. Naruto's attention was then taken from the howling man with only one leg and turned onto the giant wall of flames descending onto the tent in the middle of the camp. Mere 30 seconds had passed since his first kill. He had another minute before he would have to put out the fire. Reaching for 2 of his leather-hilted kunai, he took them in reverse grip and charged into the fray. Naruto's first victim didn't even realize that he was there. Using his smaller frame to his advantage, Naruto easily cut into the bandit's left leg, shredding muscle, tendons and most importantly his femoral artery. Another shower of blood painted the clearing. The bleeding bandit cried out in pain, drawing the others' attention towards him and by proxy Naruto. The first bandit to react was tall and slender, the first signs of facial hair on his visage. The young blonde however felt detached, as if he was a mere bystander. He noticed the gleaming light on the katana the gangly youth was lifting over his head with both hands while charging. An overhead strike, sloppy Naruto observed. For the blonde ninja, everything seemed to be in slow motion. He noticed the most inconsequential details. How the air looked to be shimmering as the thin morning mist was illuminated by the rising sun. He could still hear the moaning from the previously cut down bandit, but the sound seemed so far away. Carnage was all around him, but Naruto's eyes only saw the young man charging towards him. Unknown to the blonde, the battle fever had gripped him. The state one only reaches when spilling his enemy's blood. The state that had made men and women roar in triumph for millennia when slaughtering other humans. Suddenly, the bandit was right in front of Naruto. He dropped the kunai from his left hand and moved towards the new threat, bending his knees a little and launching his own attack. Before his opponent had a chance to react, Naruto's left arm had crept from under the bandit's own left arm towards his shoulder. Mid-air, the young blonde grabbed onto his enemy's shoulder. Letting his momentum carry him past the bandit, he used his arm as leverage and swung onto his assailant's back, embedding the kunai from his right hand deep into nape of the bandit's neck. Naruto's weight wasn't enough to change the bandit's own momentum. He crashed face first into the ground rather violently, Naruto's knees pressed into his newest victim's back only for a moment before he rolled away once again. Naruto sat on a random piece of wood in the remains of the bandit camp, surrounded by corpses. Koji had started burying them with some Doton jutsu after having taken care of Naruto. A useful jutsu to learn, Naruto mused, his emotionless eyes darting around the camp, desperately looking for something to distract him from his own thoughts. Hayate and Emiko were sorting through the stuff that had been stored in the tent. Naruto had wanted to help, but Hayate had simply pointed to his left arm, which had sported a nasty burn. Naruto couldn't feel any pain coming from it, but he remembered what had caused the burn in the first place. After he had joined the battle in earnest and killed 3 more men in quick succession, most of the bandits had decided to run away and Naruto had moved on to save the burning tent, or rather its goods. While using his Suiton Mizurapa no Jutsu, water style trumpet technique on the tent, one of its former inhabitants had decided to hinder him rather drastically. Choosing between having their stolen merchandise fall into their enemy's hand or the wares being burned, he picked the latter. Before long, Naruto had a Kaiten Kankakek no Jutsu, fire style. Great fireball technique coming at him, proving that there was at least one former ninja with the bandits. Since the fireball had been rather small, being only about 1 foot in diameter, the ninja had probably barely been above genin level. However, due to the close proximity and Naruto's attention being on the formerly burning tent, he couldn't dodge the whole thing in time. Fortunately, the flames were as good as put out when Naruto had been forced to dodge and thus stop his jutsu, with only some tiny flames still licking on the tarp. Out of the corner of his eyes, Naruto had then witnessed his attacker's demise, courtesy of Hayate's katana. Soon thereafter, the sounds of battle had diminished and Koji had taken care of his burn. "Hey Naruto, you alright?" Naruto turned towards the voice and saw Hayate coming towards him. "Yeah, I'm fine, spaces out a little just now," came his reply. "First kill, huh? Well, at least it was clean. I know someone who got her first kill by burning half the body to a crisp," Hayate said with a wink, his eyes darting over to Emiko, "but that's not exactly what you want to hear right now, I guess. Listen, there isn't much one can say to make it better. It's part of the job and in time, you'll do it again. As long as you don't enjoy it and it weighs on your conscience, everything is alright because it means you're still human. Well, it never gets easier, you get accustomed to it. I also came over to tell you that you did a great job, Naruto. I expected you to freeze up, to be honest." "Thanks, Hayate," Naruto said with a somewhat strained smile. "No worries, that's what I'm here for. Now, I heard you like to dabble in Fukinjutsu, are you able to draw storage seals? We didn't bring enough scrolls, I'm afraid." "I'm afraid not. I'm only halfway through level 3 and storage seals come later, as far as I know." "Ah, I see, you're doing it the hard way. I tried it at the start but it was too time consuming for me. I only pick up random seals and learn how to make them without learning the technicalities behind them. Level 3 at 9 years old is quite the accomplishment, however, I'm sure you'll get there in time. If you don't mind helping Emiko store all the stuff while I draw some more seals, that would be great. If we make haste, we'll be back in the village by night." "Sure thing, I could use something to distract me a little," Naruto said, this time with a real smile. 20. March 1299, late evening. "So, everything went well?" Hiruzen asked. "He did admirably. Naruto integrated himself into our team quite well and had no problem to keep up with our pace. His execution was flawless, although he joined the fight a little delayed. Had it not been his first kill, it wouldn't have happened." "That's good to hear. It opens up more mission options for him." "Very well, you can turn in your written report tomorrow, go get some sleep, Hayate-kun," the Hokage said. "Hi Hokage-sama, thank you," Hayate replied and turned around to leave the office. The office remained silent for a few moments before Hiruzen said, "Anbu, leave me." 4 shadows darted out of the office before the Hokage opened his mouth again. "So, are you going to sit there all night or are you going to tell me what you want?" he asked the empty office. A rustle of clothes could be heard from the window before a ninja in Jimnin garb with silver gravity-defying hair and a face mask jumped through it. "My apologies, Hokage-sama, I couldn't help but listen in when I jumped by," Kakashi said. "Well, you'd better apologies again, Kakashi-kun, this time for lying to me. You didn't just jump by. If I had to guess, I'd say that you followed Hate here from the gates, the Hokage said, smirking a little. Kakashi scratched the back of his head in embarrassment before sitting down on the chair in front of Hiruzen's desk, his face turning serious. I know what you're doing, Hokage-sama. Oh, and what would that mean, Kakashi-kun? Hiruzen asked, his eyes gleaming in amusement. You didn't pair Naruto with Hate's team on accident. Hate won't go to his apartment tonight. He will go to his girlfriend's, who just so happens to have been taught Kenjutsu by Kushina. Their conversation will turn on to Naruto and how well he did on the mission. Then, Ikao, who is very well aware of Naruto's identity and was part of his Anbu protection detail, will mention that he would fill Anko's soon-to-be empty spot quite well. You and I both know that Ikao has a soft spot for Naruto and wants to see him succeed. She was the one to comfort him when he had nightmares. While Naruto probably doesn't remember it, he knows Nico Nichin just as well as Inu Nyasin. Kakashi finished his narration. My, to have this all planned, it would be quite insidious, wouldn't you say? And what empty spot are you talking about? Anko is still very much part of Team Hate, Kakashi-kun. Sure, Kakashi said, rolling his eyes, it's almost public knowledge that Ibiki is pushing for Anko to be assigned to T&I full-time. From what I've heard, Anko isn't averse to the idea. If I didn't know that I would hurt Naruto by doing so, I would bet my entire Icha collection on Anko being transferred to T&I full-time within a week, now that you put Naruto into Hate's mind. And why would you hurt Naruto by betting your collection? Because, it's also almost public knowledge that you're a closet pervert, Kakashi said and belatedly added, Hokage-sama. You would probably push the transfer out for a week, only to win the bet. Ah, I think it's time for you to leave, Kakashi-kun, the Hokage said, smiling a little too sweetly. Hiruzen had rarely seen a faster Shunshin. Ninja How-To, Chapter 3 Chakra Introductions. It is without doubt that chakra is the most important component when it comes to the battle prowess of ninja. To execute any technique on a high level, a certain competence when it comes to chakra control and manipulation is required, no matter which shinobi art the technique stems from. As any other book will tell you, chakra is in its basis the combination of physical and spiritual energies. While the physical part is quite obvious, the spiritual is not. It has been long debated what is contained within the term spiritual. It is my opinion that it contains everything that is actually non-physical. While it sounds somewhat self-explanatory, it is a rather complicated topic. Many theories disregard willpower, mental strength, emotions, even imagination and creativity amongst other things from the spiritual part of chakra. I heavily disagree. Chakra is the manifestation of everything the caster is in the moment he releases the chakra. For example, our imagination is just as much part of us as anything else, and I theorize that it is a major part when it comes to shape manipulation, which will be discussed in a later chapter. Killer intent is a projection of our emotions via chakra. There are also examples of sensors being able to pick up on the emotions of the people around them. It is important that every ninja understands that chakra is a double-edged sword. It is our own chakra that allows Genjutsu to fool our senses as much as it is chakra that allows us to do unimaginable things. To hone this weapon to perfection shall be your greatest achievement. To perfectly control and shape the very manifestation of yourself in this world. Chapter 5. 22. March 1299. Naruto was woken by loud knocking at 7:45 am. The previous day had been a Sunday and Naruto had spent it relaxing, trying to recuperate from his latest mission and subsequent first kill. Rubbing the last remnants of sleep from his eyes, Naruto got up and opened the door. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Hokage-sama told me that you returned from your mission 2 days ago, but you missed our training. Huh? Oh, morning Guy-sensei. Yeah, didn't feel like training today. Gomen, I should have told you. Don't worry, Naruto. Would you mind if I come in? I'd like to talk to you. Naruto was a little surprised but stepped aside and gestured towards the couch. Please, sit down. Do you want tea, breakfast? Yes, thank you. It seemed as if Guy's usual exuberance vanished when he entered the apartment. Naruto made himself busy in the adjacent kitchen while Guy looked around the living dining room. Since Naruto generally didn't have time to waste in the morning, he kept enough pre-cooked rice in the fridge to last 2 or 3 days. 10 minutes later, he placed the bowls with his usual breakfast on the low coffee table: rice, fermented soybeans, fried eggs and tea. So, what did you want to talk about, sensei? Naruto asked between bites. Before answering, Guy set his bowl of rice down, placed his chopsticks on top of it and interlaced his fingers. I want to talk about the reason of your absence, he said seriously. There's no particular reason, I just didn't feel like it. Naruto-kun, in the last 4 months that I've trained you, you didn't miss a single day of training when you weren't outside the village. You even came right before you left the village quite often. Something troubles you and I want to know what. It's nothing important, sensei, I'll be there tomorrow, promise, Naruto said, trying to deflect the unasked question. Guy sighed before speaking again. Naruto, I think it's important for you to know that when I decided to train you, it wasn't just a spur of the moment thing. You have to understand that you're important to this village and not just in your position as Jinchuriki. While early graduates aren't that uncommon, it's usually after their third or fourth year. Becoming Genin after only 1 year at the academy draws attention. Pretty much every Chunin and Junin knows exactly who you are, now more so than ever. Having young, strong ninjas sets an example to others your age of what can be achieved with hard work. It shows our clients and the other villages that our next generation will be as deadly as the one before. Admittedly, you weren't exactly the inconspicuous person before due to your pranks, but they lessened notably when you started at the academy. When you approached me outside that Dango restaurant, I knew exactly why you were there. One doesn't graduate as an 8-year-old by being stupid and collecting wrong information, Guy explained. You knew from the start that I actually wanted you to train me? Naruto asked incredulous. Of course I knew. You don't become Junin by being an idiot either. There's a subtle difference between being intelligent and being good academically. Besides, there's this whole common sense thingy, he chuckled a bit. So why didn't you call me out on my bullshit? And why would you train me when you knew that I was lying to your face? Because, as I said, you're important to this village. And being cunning isn't a bad trait for a ninja. You were desperate and did what you had to, no one can blame you for that. 5 minutes after you accepted my offer, I went to Hokage-sama to inform him about our arrangement. You have to understand that there's a lot of things going on behind your back that concern you. It would do absolutely no good to have a Jinchuriki training completely unsupervised, especially one that has very few bonds to the village. So, you only did it because it was for the good of the village? Naruto asked a little hurt. No, of course not, Guy replied instantly, shaking his head. I wanted to see what you're made of. I heard that Itachi had a hand in your training and I was curious. You heard about Kakashi, yes? Naruto simply nodded and his sensei continued. He has a saying that is very true for us ninja. One has to look underneath nothing is ever as it seems. There are very few Junin that believe what's said about Itachi, but what we believe doesn't matter. He was declared a traitor to the village and as such has to be exterminated. Our feelings and beliefs have no say in the matter. Being trained by one of the most talented shinobi to ever come out of Konoha was for me a sign that you obviously had talent as well. A talent I wanted to further and bring out. I see, so, what exactly are you trying to say with all that? Being your sensei means more to me than simply train you in Taijutsu. I'm here to support you, to help you along, to sort of smoothen your path. Your actions directly reflect on me. Your failures will be partly laid at my feet and in exchange I get a share in the glory you will one day reap. I will be known as the sensei of a Hokage, Guy said with a wink and Naruto smiled brightly. It was me who told the Hokage that you were ready for this mission. If I hadn't done that, you would have never be assigned a B rank. So, why don't you tell me what's troubling you? I know it has something to do with your last mission, but I don't think it's about your first kill, is it? No, well, yes. Sort of. Naruto paused before he said in a whisper, I liked it. You mean killing? Guy asked, his voice even. No, I don't think so, the young ninja said and furrowed his brow, staring at the bowl in his hands. I believe it was more the battle itself. It was exhilarating beyond belief, he said and looked up at his sensei. The fighting itself, knowing that a mistake could mean your death, I've never felt so alive. Seeing your enemy and suddenly knowing what he's going to do before he knows it himself. The knowledge that you hold his life in your hands. It was intoxicating, I had to stop myself from running after them, Naruto finished, his voice growing steadily quieter. I see, and what about all that has you so troubled? Guy asked softly. Naruto's expression turned quizzical before answering. I shouldn't feel that way. I feel dirty even thinking about it. And I'm afraid that I won't be able to stop one day. Well, don't be afraid then. You're not the only one with those feelings, Naruto-kun. It might not be the best example, but Madara Uchiha was well known for his thirst for battle. Many great ninja had it. Tobirama Senju had it, Sandaime-sama has it, Kakashi has it. I myself enjoy a good fight and many others do so as well. Even Shadaime-sama was said to relish in a decent battle, even though he dedicated most of his life to bringing peace. It might be possible that your condition enhances those feelings, but they're nothing to be ashamed of or worried about. There are two types of fighters, Naruto-kun. Those who go into battle with trepidation, only thinking about their survival, and those that go into battle with a smile on their face, wishing for a strong opponent and let loose. The former never become truly great ninja. But I never felt that way before. Even when Hana and I really get into it and our spars turn vicious, Naruto exclaimed. Well, that's simple biology. Even though your fights may be hard-fought, both of you know unconsciously that there's no real danger. All the hormones, especially adrenaline you release when fighting for your life, make those feelings possible in the first place. I see, Naruto concurred. Thanks sensei, that helped a lot. That's what I'm here for, Naruto-kun. Now that your head is set straight, I'll be on my way. Breakfast was delicious and I expect you tomorrow for training, Guy said, suddenly turning brighter again. Hi, sensei. I'll be there. 26. March 1299. Friday evening, Naruto strolled down the streets of Konoha towards the barbecue place he frequented with Shikamaru and Chimjai. He wanted to celebrate his first successful B-rank mission with his friends and had invited them out. Entering the restaurant, Naruto saw Shikamaru and Chimjai already seated and went over to them. Hey guys, you're early, he greeted his friends and sat down. Hello, Naruto. Yeah, Shikamaru was too lazy to go home after school only to walk back to the restaurant, so we decided to wait here for you. He's been napping ever since, Chimjai explained. And you've been snacking, I guess, Naruto replied chuckling. The rather chubby boy smiled and scratched the back of his head sheepishly before elbowing the sleeping Shikamaru in the side. The dark-haired boy didn't so much as look up but only lifted his arm and waved towards Naruto with a lazy "Hey Naruto." Chimjai and Naruto chuckled at their friend's antics and waved over a waitress in order for them to order. Even though constantly grilling meat and only eating from small bites, there was only little small talk. It was usual for Chimjai not to talk much while eating, but today it wasn't because he was too focused on his meal. In fact, both him and Shikamaru seemed rather distracted. The blonde ninja guessed that they had a stressful week. Suo, anything happened at the academy? You guys seem somewhat not your usual selves. Shikamaru looked up from his meal and muttered, emotional conditioning. Huh? What does that mean? Naruto asked. Well, we told you how every second-year student was given a baby rabbit to take home about 3 months ago, yes? Chimjai asked and only continued when Naruto nodded in confirmation. The task was to care for him and stuff. They talked it up as a preparation for protection missions or something like that. We were asked to bring the rabbit back into class yesterday and then were told to kill it. I see how that can kill your appetite. Do you know whether there will be more of that sort of thing? No idea, Shikamaru answered this time, but since we're only in our second year, I guess we'll have to do something of that sort every other year. You seem rather unfazed by it though. Yeah, might have helped to have done something like that before my latest mission. What? Oh right, we were actually here to celebrate something. You never told us what exactly. Sorry, I was a little in a hurry when I met you at the academy, Naruto admitted sheepishly. Well, last Saturday I returned from my first B rank, successful and all, Naruto smiled. Wow, congratulations Naruto, the two boys chorused. B rank huh? What was the objective? Shikamaru added. Bandit extermination, was the curt answer. Both Naruto's friends looked at him a little strange before Shikamaru acquiesced. I see how some emotional training could have helped you there. It's actually strange that it isn't done for early graduates in their first few months as genin. So, did you actually He asked with a slight grimace. Yeah, didn't have much of a choice. I've been pretty much told that I was assigned to this mission so that I could get it over with. I have no idea why the emotional condition thing isn't just part of the genin exam. I mean, in hindsight being able to go through with it and not freeze is kind of important, Naruto explained. Well, that's great and all, but it doesn't feel like we're celebrating. Naruto, aren't you allowed to buy alcohol? I remember Iruka-sensei telling us that ninja are allowed to drink. Do you want to get drunk? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. No. Just a cup, too, try it. And maybe it gets rid of this depressing mood. Chimjai tried to explain. Naruto just grinned and waved over the waitress. A minute later all three had a little cup of sake in front of them. Glancing at each other, they lifted the cups in a silent salute. Shikamaru spit half the liquid out again, while Chimjai and Naruto started choking, all three grimaced. Well, that was disgusting. Shikamaru summarized their experience laughing. His two friends simply grinned. I was wondering, how are the two Uchihas doing? It's almost been a year since the incident. Naruto asked, after a few moments. Where does that sudden interest come from? Shikamaru asked with a raised eyebrow. I'm just curious about how they're faring, I guess. Well, Sasuke has been his usual stuck-up self, Chimjai said unusually blunt. He's been broody ever since the massacre and socializes even less than before. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts killing his fangirls sooner or later. Wow Chimjai, you sure that isn't the sake talking? Naruto said laughing. Chimjai didn't even deign to answer and turned his attention back to the sizzling meat. Izumi is hiding something, Shikamaru said quietly. She doesn't sit with Sasuke anymore, but with Hinata. You mean the Hika heiress, right? The quiet one always seemed a little weird. She's nice when you get to know her, Chimjai interjected between bites. Yeah that's the one, Shikamaru replied, ignoring Chimjai for the moment. First I thought Izumi was just fed up with Ino and Sakura, worshipping the very ground Sasuke walked on and they're whining when Izumi already sat beside her brother in the academy. Sakura was even worse and tried to butter up with Izumi too, probably thinking she could get to Sasuke through her or something. But now I think she's hiding something and wants to simply distance herself from Sasuke. What do you mean she's hiding something? Naruto asked, looking quizzical. Well, in our first year she was always up there with the best in our class ranking. Well, she's still in the top third now, something's wrong. Whenever she's asked something in class, she knows it, but on tests she only scores like 70 to 80%. When we're on the throwing range, I think she misses on purpose. Like, she hit 7 out of 10 bullseyes and the other 3 go wide. If she's trying to play down her abilities, she's doing it rather badly though, it's kind of obvious. Obvious for you maybe Shika, Chimjai said, I didn't really notice. I wonder why she would do it though, Naruto interjected with a furrowed brow. And why is she sitting with Hinata? No idea why she would want to hide her abilities. Hinata is a lot less nervous since she's sitting with Izumi, but only when we're in school. Outside she's still super shy, dunno what that's all about. Izumi is probably just sitting with her because Hinata takes being a kunoichi more serious than the rest of the girls in our class. You should have seen them when we had to kill that rabbit, their wailing was almost worse than the killing itself, Shikamaru answered, shaking his head. Naruto snorted. He barely remembered the girls from his class, but what had stayed with him was their obnoxious need to impress Sasuke. But weren't there like 2 or 3 other girls that were actually serious? Naruto asked. Well, I don't know whether they take being a kunoichi serious, but there are 3 girls who keep away from all the fangirls and sweep the floor with them in spars. Iruka, Mai and Naomi, Chimjai interjected again, earning him surprised looks. The boy noticed the prolonging silence and looked at his friends, only then noticing their staring. What? I like to know who I'm in class with, he said defiantly. The more you know, Shikamaru mumbled. The rest of the evening the 3 went back to their usual banter. Naruto took care of the bill, he had invited them after all, and B-rank missions paid rather well. He fell asleep that night with a content sigh. 28. March 1299. Naruto was having his well-deserved Sunday dinner at Ichiraku's and was chatting with AM while destroying his 5th bowl of ramen. Izjai-san had been quite proud of him when Naruto had shown him that he had mastered the first step of water manipulation. Hiruzen had shown him the next exercise for mastering his element and Naruto thought it simply impossible. He had to change the direction in which a body of water flowed. The exercise was considered mastered when he could force whole rivers to make a bend. Naruto had tried it with a tiny creek, barely a foot wide, but he seemed to be unable to force any change. As Naruto was about to order his next bowl, he was interrupted by a familiar voice. Hey Naruto. You're quite difficult to find, I was looking for you for half the day. Naruto looked over his shoulder and saw Hade entering the ramen stand. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, sorry. Old pranking habits, you know, can't be seen and all that he said, scratching the back of his head sheepishly. No worries. But speaking about pranks, it has been quite some time or am I just missing them? You're right. Ever since becoming Genin I neglected my one true talent. Well, I got to remedy that soon, can't have people become too lax. Maybe the Anbu are up for a good chase, it's been too long, Naruto replied, with a thoughtful look. I have it on good authority that the Anbu are not too upset with not having to chase you around the village anymore, Hade explained laughing. Although it was always amusing to watch, I have to admit. Maybe something small. I had a D rank a few weeks ago and the client didn't want me painting his fence. Argued for an hour with me about sending another ninja. The old codger would make a good target. Maybe I should paint his fence pink or something. Sounds like a plan, Hade said chuckling. But I didn't come looking for you to talk about pranks, as amusing as it is. Didn't think so, Naruto replied, while viciously attacking his next bowl of ramen. So, why did you look for me? The spot is just opened on our team. Anko was finally transferred to T&I full-time, she'll only be going on recon missions from now on, and only with teams from T&I. You did a good job on our last mission, and I thought I would offer you the spot on a trial basis. You for real? Naruto exclaimed with gleaming eyes, his ramen forgotten for once. That would be awesome, no more reserve corps and a Chunin team too. Yeah, I am for real, Hate said, laughing again. As I said, it's on a trial basis since we've only been on one mission, but both Koji and Amiko agreed to give you a chance. Just meet up with us tomorrow for training and we'll look over it, alright? Sure thing, when and where? We usually meet at 8 AM at Training Ground 42. It's the one close to Training Ground 44, Anko loves that place, so we picked something in the proximity. Our normal schedule is 3 hours of team exercises, formations, collaboration attacks and stuff like that. Afterwards we spar for an hour or help each other with projects. We often get lunch together and in the afternoon, everyone does what he wants. Sounds perfect, I'll be there, Naruto said. I got to switch up my schedule with Guy-sensei, I hope we can fix something, he thought. Good, I'll see you tomorrow then, enjoy your ramen. Thanks Hayate, see you tomorrow. Oh, and since you're on the team now, you can call me Tachem, Hayate said, while leaving Ichiraku's. Naruto turned his attention back to his ramen in high spirits. Finally, a real team. It may make participating in Chunin exams even more difficult, but at least he would get more experience. He would get his promotion some way or another. So Naruto-kun, it seems you made good impression on your mission, Am said, from behind the counter. You seem awfully chipper, even more so than usual, is it really such a big deal to be on a fixed team? Of course, Am Nichin. There are lots of advantages when being on a fixed team. For one, I'm part of the active corps, which means I get a base income, Naruto explained. Huh, I thought you ninjas get your salary from missions. Huh. Missions are like a bonus. Or maybe it's the other way around, since as a genin I can barely live from the base income. Every rank has different income, you see. Anbu get the most, since they don't receive payment for missions, and it's based on how long you've been in Anbu. The base income is actually very important if you're injured at one point or when you retire. You're only paid 80% of your income, 8% go into your so-called old age provision, and another 12% go into a collective fund that supports injured shinobi. I mean, think about it, you would be screwed as shinobi if you were injured and didn't have any income besides missions. Fortunately, the village covers all health bills for hospitalized shinobi, so at least that's something you wouldn't have to worry about, Naruto continued his explanation. I honestly never thought about it, but it makes sense, Am said with a frown on her face. But what happens when a reserve corps shinobi is injured? Well, then you are screwed. Well, your hospital bills are still covered, you lack income. That's why it's so important to pass the test set by your Junin sensei. Less than half the genin who fail their test advance in rank or make it out of the reserve corps. You either work your ass off and make it work, or you get a civilian job and withdraw your shinobi license completely, Naruto explained. But why would you withdraw your license? I mean, you could always work on the side and hope for a chance to get out of it. Yeah, but while shinobi in the reserve corps are allowed to decline missions, they're still obligated to fight in case of war. Not training due to a civilian job makes you cannon fodder in war times. Most reserve corps shinobi are in there because they don't want to constantly take missions. Take the clan heads as an example. They're still very capable shinobi but have too many obligations to leave the village on a regular basis. Well, that was interesting. What else do you get from being in the active corps? Am asked. There are lots of other things. Like having regular missions, being able to train with a team and all that sort of stuff. Well, good for you Naruto-kun, you deserve it, Am said with a smile. Thanks, Ni-chan, but I got to go. I should get a good night's sleep before my first training session and I'll have to check with Guy-sensei whether we can change up our schedule or not, Naruto replied while dropping some money on the counter and getting up from his chair. Alright, good night Naruto-kun. Am Ni, tell Tucci good night for me Naruto exclaimed, idly waving his hand over his shoulder, exiting the ramen stand. 29. April 1299. Naruto smiled unconsciously while slurping his noodle soup. If it wasn't for the according to him food of the gods, he would probably be talking just as much as Emiko. Team Hayate was currently having dinner at Ichiraku's, celebrating Naruto's permanent admission to said team. During the 1-month trial period, the young ninja integrated himself quite well. Naruto's position in Team Hayate was somewhat similar to Hayate's. His huge chakra reserves made him into a ninjutsu powerhouse, while his smaller frame and speed made for an elusive fighter who still packed a punch. Not to mention his stealth skills were some of the best ever seen in a 9-year-old. The young blonde was turning out to be an all-around type shinobi, and he had already decided to pick up Kinjutsu as soon as he was done with the second step of water manipulation. Of his team, Naruto was probably closest to Emiko. The teenager had kind-of adopted Naruto as a younger brother. She had taken a liking to pranks after Naruto told her about the one time he had sneaked into Anbu HQ and painted large parts of the underground facility orange. More often than not, lunch was spent making plans for their next prank after Naruto decided to go back into pranking business. Hayate kept out of it for the most part, according to Emiko, it was under threat of his girlfriend. Koji however surprised them all. It seemed the young man had a hidden sadistic streak and offered to get them some rather humiliating neurotoxins for their pranks. Needless to say that they kept him far away from their plans. There had also been a short discussion about Naruto's tenant. The young blonde figured that his teammates probably knew anyway and wanted to be able to trust them with everything. Surprisingly, none of them showed a negative reaction. Hayate had studied seals and had informed his teammates about the nature of a Jinchuriki even before they had been on their first B rank. While both Emiko and Koji had lost loved ones during the Kikbi incident, they knew where to lay the blame, and it certainly wasn't Naruto. Dirty. April 12, 99. Naruto was working through one of his katas when Guy suddenly interrupted him. "Naruto-kun, we've got company." Next to Guy stood a kunoichi with purple hair, wearing Anbu gear and a katana on her back. Naruto looked at the kunoichi a little quizzically, there was something familiar about her. "Naruto, Ika-chan wants to talk to you," Guy explained. "Morning Naruto-kun, sorry to interrupt your training. Hey-kun told me where I could find you, I wanted to talk to you. How about breakfast?" The young boy was little perplexed, not knowing what exactly this was about. He didn't want to be rude though, so he asked, "You're Hate's girlfriend, right?" Receiving a nod in return he continued, "Alright, I know a place." Naruto then turned towards his sensei, "What about you Guy-sensei, want to tag along?" "It's alright Naruto-kun, go ahead. I'll have my breakfast here, as usual," Guy replied with a gentle smile. Naruto nodded and fell in step with Ikka walking towards the village. He inhaled the crisp morning air deeply through his nose before his face crunched up in confusion and then turned towards the purple-haired kunoichi. "Nico Nichan." "Hi, Naruto-kun. It's been a while, nah." Ikko answered smiling. Suddenly a lot of things fell into place for Naruto and his eyes widened. That manipulative old man. "I'll have to thank him later," he grumbled more to himself. Ikko however heard him clearly. What are you talking about?" "Okajiji. He used you and Hei to get me onto a team," Naruto explained. Ikko stood still for a moment before starting to laugh. "I can't believe I didn't see it before. He played us well. And some of the higher ranks were starting to doubt his capability as Hokage," she said still chuckling and shaking her head. "He could obliterate them both in body and mind." "So, what did you want to talk about Nichan?" Naruto asked between bites. "Hei-kun told me you had a water affinity and I wondered if you needed any help." "Yeah, that would be awesome. I'm on the second step but it's super annoying," Naruto said a little downcast. "Don't worry Gaki, I can make some time here and there to give you some pointers. It's the least I can do," Ikko said, smiling softly. Naruto looked at her strangely, trying to figure out why she'd owe him. He shoved the thought into the back of his mind for later. "You know Naruto, I was wondering. How are you being treated nowadays?" Ikko asked quietly. "It's weird I don't spend much time in the village to be honest. Well it's kind of difficult to explain. 2 years ago, I did everything I could to get their attention, you know, the clothes, the pranks and stuff. Yeah, I heard some Anbu talking about submitting a motion to split your team. Everyone was happy when the pranks lessened and now you got Emiko-chan helping you," Ikko said wistfully. "You do realize that there's no point in trying to hide that you're an Anbu by talking about them as if you're not part of it, right?" Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. "Hi," Ikko laughed sheepishly, "force of habit I guess." "The clothes are somewhat of a giveaway," Naruto deadpanned. "But yeah, the pranks are back. Although we're really limiting ourselves to be honest. Less trying to annoy people and more for a good laugh and sometimes just to reveal security risks. I'll remember not to touch your stuff the next time we raid Anbu HQ, Nico Nichan," Naruto said with a slightly maniac grin. "Thank Kami for small favors," Ikko muttered. "Back to our topic though, as I said I changed quite a bit during the last 2 years. Instead of channeling all my energy into annoying people, I train or study. I'm rarely seen and since I'm not wearing anything bright anymore, people tend to ignore me rather than glare at me. It's easier to overlook me and pretend I'm not there I guess. The ninja changed too, but I only realized it after Guy-sensei told me that graduating after only 1 year is kind of special. I mean, there were always fewer ninja that hated me, but the others didn't really do anything about it. I was just treated with indifference. Now they look almost as if they're respecting me, it was creepy when I first noticed," Naruto explained. "I see. You've also become much more quiet. You stopped running around shouting about becoming Hokage, I always thought it was rather adorable." Being remember of his past behavior made Naruto blush in embarrassment. "Yeah, my first sensei was super quiet and I somewhat tried to emulate him because I really looked up to him," Naruto said with sadness in his voice. "He taught me to do my physical exercises in the morning to burn as much energy as possible and it made it much easier to do other stuff that I had to sit around for." Naruto and Ikko spent the rest of their meal talking about water jutsu and manipulation. Since Ikko only had little time to help him, they decided that she would simply look for him when she actually had time. After all, she knew where to find him. Ninja How-To, Chapter 4 Taijutsu. In accordance with our teachings at the Ninja Academy I shall too cover the 3 main shinobi arts. The first of them being Taijutsu. It is in my opinion the most important discipline of all the shinobi arts. A ninja can lack in all other areas and still be a dangerous opponent. Its importance stems from the fact that it does not require additional items or even hand seals. Outside of the Hyuga clan there is no one that can shut down the inner workings of a person's chakra system, as such chakra enhancement, which will be discussed later, is almost always possible. The jutsu is a foundation that is required for any competent shinobi. While it is no necessary to become proficient or even master a certain style, it is important to be able to defend oneself in close quarters. It is important to note that no taijutsu style is singularly better or stronger than another. Different styles cater to different ninja with different goals when it comes to their taijutsu. It can be argued that a well-known style poses a disadvantage due to accumulated experiences with that certain style. While this may be true, it also means that the style has been developed longer and has therefore more facets that can be concentrated on to improve by an individual ninja. For most ninja, taijutsu will become a complementary discipline to their main combat ability, whether it is ninjutsu, jinjutsu, bukijutsu or even more obscure art such as genjutsu. It is important to choose a taijutsu style that fits the ninja's style of combat as well as his chosen main discipline or main disciplines. Taijutsu should complement and enhance a ninja's battle ability even if it is only used as a supplemental art. What if Konoha finds out Naruto's heritage? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.